Blissful Bookshelf. Chapter 334. Zhuo Xiaoduo was at the side, holding his stomach as he tried to digest. He rolled his eyes. Look at how reluctant these guys are. You will know the benefits after you digest it. You don't know how to thank me. You still owe me money for the space ring. Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai went outside to rest as if they were sleepwalking. It looked like the six of them didn't need to eat for the time being. The two of them looked at each other for a while. Hu Ruoyun said softly, "It would be strange if these guys don't succeed in the future." Luo Lai nodded. It was hard to accept at the beginning. But after thinking about it, what they said and did was right. Use all means to become stronger. This is the heart of a strong warrior. Luo Lai sighed and felt sad. Why didn't I think of drinking a little at that time? Ugh. Hu Ruoyun retched instinctively. Until the afternoon of the second day, their stomachs were still bulging. According to Zhuo Xiaoduo's words, even if you have to pee, you have to endure it and focus on cultivating. Try to absorb as much as you can. If you really can't absorb anymore, then do those useless things. It's really useful. Wan Lixio was exultant. I feel that a lot of new vitality has seeped into my meridians. This growth is still happening. I really want to drink more. Everyone else's faces were also filled with joy. Don't you think it's dirty now? Zhuo Xiaoduo looked at Wan Lixio and teased. Dirty. It's still dirty, but it's really useful. Wan Lixio was embarrassed. For strength. Zhuo Xiaoduo lowered his voice and said, "Now, I'll teach you another lesson. Once you enter the higher martial arts level, challenge the strong once in a while. Let yourself be seriously injured, or at least make it look like you're seriously injured. Then try to enter the nutrition cabin. Let me tell you, the nutrition cabin of the higher martial arts level is much stronger than what we're drinking now." The five people's eyes lit up as they nodded their heads, looking as if they were deep in thought. Of course, Zhuo Xiaoduo did not know that his impromptu training had caused a lot of trouble for the major martial arts schools in the future. Now, he was listing out the remaining 10 teams. Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai had agreed to Zhuo Xiaoduo's request and brought back the videos of the other teams' previous matches. The 8 of them each had a computer and were watching videos with their headsets. Zhuo Xiaoduo was watching 3 videos each. After he finished reading, 3 of the teams were directly thrown into the cold palace by him. The captains of these 3 teams are at most as strong as Yu Moyan, Li Zhangming, and Long Yusheng. The others are nothing special. It would be strange if Zhuo Xiaoduo was interested in such an opponent. He strolled behind the other 7 people. Stop. Let's pause for a moment. Long Yusheng, your pause. Teacher Luo, your pause. Zhuo Xiaoduo's eyes suddenly lit up. I have to watch these 3 videos one by one. These 3. Hu Ruoyun also paused her own video and said, Hidden Dragon 1. Feng Hai 3. Yang Lui. Zhuo Xiaoduo nodded and said, yes. I suggest you watch Shui Cheng as well, Hu Ruoyun said. Apart from us, this is the most popular team to win the championship. I don't need to watch Shui Cheng. Zhuo Xiaoduo looked at Hu Ruoyun's page and said, the 6 people in Shui Cheng are the kind of people who can make friends. They are very open and chivalrous. Oh. Hu Ruoyun frowned and wondered, are you praising them? Why do I feel that it doesn't sound right? Everyone roared with laughter at once. Zhuo Xiaoduo said seriously, it's really a compliment. Although I don't agree with their approach, it doesn't mean that I don't have a good impression of these 6 people. On the contrary, I really appreciate them. They are standard martial artists who follow the standard spirit of martial arts. They won't hide anything. Blissful Bookshelf. They will be a dignified army throughout the whole process. The 2 armies will confront each other with pure strength. They disdain to use any tricks. Suo Xiaoduo said seriously to Long Yusheng and others, these 6 people, after you go to your respective high martial arts universities in the future, if you are destined to become classmates with them, you can make friends with them. Each of them belongs to the kind of people who can entrust their backs to you. You can't be wrong. Wan Lixiu and others wrote it down seriously. They had never seen Suo Xiaoduo praise anyone. This was the first time in history. People who could be evaluated by Suo Xiaoduo like this must not be wrong. This was already the consensus of the 5 people, also known as basic common sense. The headmaster of Shui City No. 1 Middle School was the general of the Southern Army, Gu Qianfan, the sword of no return. When Gu Qianfan was the first vanguard of the Southern Army, he would go forward in every battle and would rather break than bend. His sword of no return meant that he would rather go straight and not ask for something in a curve. Once the sword is out, there is no turning back. Hu Ruoyun sighed and said, Headmaster Gu Qianfan later encountered the Grand Sage of Fire in a battle. Half of his body was destroyed by the true essence fire. The frontline doctors tried all means but still couldn't repair it. His life was in danger. In order to save his life, Marshal Nan Zhengqian personally asked for the Heaven Reversal Pill. The one who had the Heaven Reversal Pill was old Minister Nan of the Ministry of Finance, who was Marshal Nan's father. The old man's request was that the Marshal of the Southern Army should come back to take over the Ministry of Finance when his term was up. Otherwise, he would not give the Heaven Reversal Pill. Marshal Nan agreed immediately and asked for the Heaven Reversal Pill to save Gu Qianfan's life. Gu Qianfan felt ashamed to face Marshal Nan. He was disabled, so he resolutely retired from the army. Later, he became the headmaster of Shui Cheng No. 1 Middle School until now. Since then, all the students from Shui Cheng No. 1 Middle School have been like this. They would rather break than bend and die than submit. Shui Cheng No. 1 Middle School will never accept those who have a slightly wrong character, even if their qualifications are incredible. Hu Ruoyun said, Gu Qianfan is a legendary figure. It's natural for him to teach such students. It's not surprising. He's indeed a legendary figure. It's just a normal operation to teach 6 upright heroes in one breath. Suo Xiaoduo said, You don't say. The 6 of them are like the same mold. It's amazing. He smiled and said, In fact, if Long Yusheng and Yu Moyan hadn't been with me for a long time, they should be such people. Li Chenglong said lazily, I know. One who stays with ink will be stained black. Swollen. Suo Xiaoduo's eyes showed a fierce light. Give me the money in your space ring quickly. Li Chenglong coughed and replied very casually, What are you shouting for? I don't have money now. When I earn money in the future, I will naturally give it to you. Why are you in a hurry? Am I the kind of person who owes money and doesn't pay it back? Suo Xiaoduo was speechless and said to Hu Ruoyun, Look, what kind of quality the students in our school have. Hu Ruoyun pursed her lips and smiled. I remember that Li Chenglong was very honest before he met you. I also think that what he said just now is really right. One who stays with the cinnabar is marked by the red. The students taught by the old headmaster Gu are first class open and above board. Well, Xiaoduo, I don't mean anything else. Don't think too much. Suo Xiaoduo was hit by this sentence and directly closed his eyes. He silently turned around and watched the video. As Suo Xiaoduo watched, he constantly paused and tilted his head to watch. After a while, the others gathered behind him. The captain and vice captain of Hidden Dragon High School No. 1 are both hiding their strength and hiding a lot. The 2 girls should also be hiding their strength. I feel that the one with the highest combat power in Fenghai High School No. 3 should be No. 2. The captain is not necessarily the strongest among them. Suo Xiaoduo frowned as he watched and said, The tall girl from Yangluo High School is very noteworthy. Her strength is unfathomable. She is the one who hides her strength the most out of everyone. Right now, our biggest opponent is still Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. They should have used the benefits in room number 1 as soon as they came, causing their strength to increase by another step. However, because of this benefit, their control of their own aura is no longer perfect, and there are many unnatural situations. It should be because they are not used to the sudden increase in strength. After Zhuo Xiaoduo finished his comments, he continued to watch. After watching for a while, he paused again. Then he continued to comment. How can you tell? Hu Ruoyun was a little surprised. Because my ability to hide my strength is far better than theirs. When it comes to hiding strength, I am the ancestor. Zhuo Xiaoduo coughed and said proudly, hiding my strength like this is the right way to do it. I am worthy of the Best Actor award. Their so-called concealment is only at the entry level and is not worth mentioning. I believe that their concealment was already seen through by the referees, but absolutely no one saw through my concealment. Zhuo Xiaoduo showed a lonely expression and sighed, there are too few people like me in the world. Other than wanting to laugh, everyone was speechless. You are so insidious that you actually know how to be insidious and still boast about yourself. For 2 days in a row. Zhuo Xiaoduo stayed in his room and studied the battle video. Chapter 335. Not only that, but we also have to study the traps that they may set for us. At my current level, I'm not afraid of any of them, but Swollen and the others. If we're not careful, it's very likely that we'll be defeated. I hope that my teammates can complete this competition with a complete victory. But now it seems that it's a little difficult. Zhuo Xiaoduo took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. There are only 30 pills with special effects to recover true inner force. It's not enough. Zhuo Xiaoduo said. Hu Ruoyun frowned and said, how many more do we need? I'll think of a way. We need at least 12 more pills. Zhuo Xiaoduo estimated. I'll go and get them. Hu Ruoyun turned and left. Tomorrow. I want all of you to keep your spirits up. Now, remove the weights and get used to your current state. Then, train your speed accordingly. Don't panic and be in a state of panic. Zhuo Xiaoduo said. It was a quiet night. The next morning, the weather was great. The sun was shining brightly, like a fire. Zhuo Xiaoduo brought his team to the arena very early. It was still the first group. Under everyone's gaze, Zhuo Xiaoduo and his team of 6 arrived with their clothes fluttering in the wind. The eyes of the referees, who had been waiting for them, lit up. They looked more expectant than before. Previously, these 6 little fellows were all dressed up like they were going for a spin. But now, they were all agile and elegant. It was obvious that they had removed their own weight. They had been carrying weights before and had swept the competition. Now that they had removed their weights, how powerful would they be? One by one, the teams came to the arena. The 11 teams were brimming with energy and vigor. 5 matches would be held today. After the 5 matches, the 5 defeated teams and the team with a bye would draw lots again. The losers would be eliminated directly, and the winners would advance to the top 8. The first group. All the matches would be completed here. Although it was only 8:00 in the morning, the weather was already unbearably hot. When Zhuo Xiaoduo and the others arrived, the other teams were already in place. As Zhuo Xiaoduo walked forward, there were many teachers who greeted him cordially. Zhuo Xiaoduo, you look very energetic today. Hee. Zhuo Xiaoduo chuckled. Teacher, you're even more spirited. Zhuo Xiaoduo, why are you so late today? I'm sorry, teacher. There was a traffic jam. Zhuo Xiaoduo, do your best. Teacher Ma Zhangxi shouted. Thank you, Teacher Ma. Zhuo Xiaoduo will never forget your kindness. Good child. Teacher Ma was comforted. Zhuo Xiaoduo. After countless greetings, Zhuo Xiaoduo smiled all the way. Gradually, his face became stiff. Yu Moyan. In front, Teacher Luo Yenling jumped out. Good luck. Thank you, Teacher Luo. Yu Moyan also had feelings for Teacher Luo, so he responded gratefully. The students from the other 10 teams were all dumbfounded by this situation. Why were the students from Phoenix City's No. 2 high school so popular? Why did it seem like the hundreds of teachers present at the scene all recognized them? All of them couldn't be the descendants of some big shot, could they? Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai had just sat down when a few teachers came to find them. Teacher Hu, Teacher Luo. That's me. What can I do for you, teacher? It's like this. We're from the disciplinary committee of the tournament committee. We have something to ask the two of you. Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai were both puzzled by the arrival of these people. Why would the disciplinary committee of the tournament committee look for them? They didn't violate the rules. The two teachers hesitated for a moment. They considered their words carefully and said, it's like this. Just the day before yesterday, Teacher Li Qingxiu from Fenghai No. 13 High School took the remaining 3 students and withdrew from the tournament. They returned to Fenghai. Teacher Hu should know about this. Hu Ruoyun said, I know. At that time, Teacher Li Qingxiu expressed his intention to forfeit. We didn't have the intention to kill them and agreed to their forfeit. Since they forfeited, they should go back. Yes, this part of the situation is basically the same as what we know. The teacher nodded and said, it said that Teacher Li Qingxiu and Teacher Hu. When you were young, you had old grudges. Hu Ruoyun nodded honestly and said, this is not a secret. What happened back then? Teacher Hu was very generous. He told them about the past in detail. The teacher took notes seriously and his eyes swept over Hu Ruoyun. Zhou Xiao Duo, who was following by the side, felt that something was amiss. He couldn't help but ask, Teacher, from what you're saying, could it be that something happened to Teacher Li on the way here? The teacher glanced at Zhou Xiao Duo and sighed, that's right. Teacher Li was attacked on the way back. We don't know if he's dead or alive. There's such a thing. That's so satisfying. Zhou Xiaoduo's face was full of surprise. Then he said, I mean. This is really indescribable. This Teacher Li has offended too many people in these 2 days. It's really good to be kind to others. The teacher opposite them was stunned when he heard this. Hey, this. It should be said that the speaker didn't mean it, but the listener did. That Li Qingxiu had really offended a lot of people these 2 days. Just the fact that he was found out on the spot while cursing Huayang High School in the stands. He believed that a lot of people wanted to beat him up. He was unlucky. No matter who did it, the words satisfying were really appropriate. Hu Ruoyun laughed and said, Teacher, are you suspecting that I attacked Teacher Li Qingxiu? The teacher's expression turned awkward. He paused and said, according to the investigation, Teacher Li's enemy. Ahem. Hu Ruoyun said solemnly, I, Hu Ruoyun, swear to God that I didn't do it. In fact, my whereabouts these 2 days are all well documented. Even if I wanted to, I didn't have the time to do it. And Hu Ruoyun smiled faintly. This old grudge of mine has really been in the past for too many years. If you want to take revenge silently, there are too many opportunities. Why do you want to arouse suspicion at this sensitive time? There was nothing wrong with what he said. All the suspicions were washed away in one go. Zhou Xiaoduo asked curiously, hello, teacher. It's been hard on you. I want to ask, is that Teacher Li's injury serious? The teacher nodded and said with a smile, this Teacher Li is very unlucky. Although it's not fatal, but all the meridians in his body are broken. His dantian is directly penetrated. His jindan is shattered. His limbs are broken and his spine is smashed. I'm afraid. He shook his head and sighed. The others who heard this trembled all over. This injury. It was really better to die. If this Teacher Li Qingxiu continued to live like this, there seemed to be only one result, which was to live a life worse than death. Zhuo Xiaoduo sighed sadly. Teacher Li is too pitiful. What kind of deep hatred does he have? How could he be so cruel? If there's a chance, I'll definitely go to Fenghai to visit. The teacher smiled and said, Li Qingxiu most likely ended up like this because of himself. We're just doing a routine investigation. We don't have any other intentions. Zhuo Xiaoduo asked curiously, then why did you ask our teacher who? Because. According to another teacher and 3 students who were present, the one who did this was a woman. The teacher smiled bitterly. Actually, we're just asking casually. Because. There were 2 groups of people who did this. The first group stopped Li Qingxiu and the others. They didn't care about the others and only attacked Li Qingxiu himself. They directly crippled him. Then the others carried teacher Li Qingxiu and continued to walk back. After walking for 100 miles, another woman came to seek revenge. Her target was also teacher Li Qingxiu. She had nothing to do with the others. After seeing him beaten to such a state, she was still a little dissatisfied and broke all the bones in his body. All of them were women. Zhuo Xiaoduo was stunned and then guessed, it seems that this teacher Li is probably a scumbag. Teachers, you might as well follow this line of investigation. Maybe it's the people who have been harmed by teacher Li all these years who came to seek revenge. Sigh, this person can't be a scumbag. This is a fresh lesson. Long Yusheng, remember this. Long Yusheng. What the hell did I do to provoke you? You're using me as a benchmark. I just owe you a little money, is it worth it? As Zhuo Xiaoduo reminded Long Yusheng, he took this opportunity to look at Wan Lixiu. He saw that Xiu also opened her eyes wide and looked confused. He couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. Wan Lixiu didn't do this. Then this matter was going to be interesting. Inexplicably, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. This can't be Teacher Mu. Can't be. Teacher Mu shouldn't be here. Right? Zhuo Xiaoduo had an idea and murmured, could it be Teacher Ma? But he doesn't look like a narrow-minded person. Ahem. Hu Ruoyun coughed repeatedly and looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo sternly. This guy is addicted to making trouble. Even if he wants to shift the blame to Jiangdong, he can't hurt anyone he catches. The high school teacher glanced at Zhuo Xiaoduo and saw that Zhuo Xiaoduo had lowered his head like a quail, looking like he had made a mistake. He couldn't help but laugh and said, no, Huayang High School won't go so far as to. After saying a few words, the high school teacher got up and left. Then, he walked around a few times and found a few people. Finally, he found teacher Ma Zhangxi of Huayang High School. Then, he saw teacher Ma Zhangxi shake his head with a confused face. The so-called, won't investigate, was, of course, just empty words. Zhuo Xiaoduo was puzzled. Who did this? I deliberately saved it to play in Fenghai. Chapter 336. On the rostrum. A high school teacher from the organizers stood up. He seemed to be a leader as he began to read the rules and introduced the 11 teams that had entered the current round. Then, it was time for the team leaders to draw lots. This time, there were 5 matches at the same time. They were all held in the first district and the first arena. The competition schedule was very concentrated, and the winning and losing principle was to win 3 out of 5 matches. This meant that if a team of 6 people was lucky enough, one of them would not even need to make a move to secure the victory. Or, if they were unlucky, the other 3 would not even need to make a move to lose. Of course, there had been cases of losing 3 matches in a row, and then the other 3 would win 3 matches in a row. In the end, it was a tragic situation of winning 4 out of 7 matches. The real-time ranking was as follows: Phoenix City 2nd High School, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, Fenghai No. 3 High School, Yangluo No. 1 High School, Water City No. 1 High School, Southern G No. 1 High School. Sherco No. 1 High School. Phoenix Tail No. 1 High School. Song Mountain No. 1 High School. Dragon Belly No. 1 High School. Garrison No. 1 High School. There were a total of 11 teams, and no one was absent. Besides Phoenix City Second High School and Fenghai No. 3 High School, the other martial arts schools were all from the same city. It could be seen that the so-called No. 1 High School is the key. Mentality was almost the same in the entire continent. It was also the place where the geniuses gathered. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. The men wore black robes, and the women wore plain long skirts. They were valiant and formidable looking. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful. They were all tall and slender. Looking at them, they were a scenery. 4 men and 2 women. They were outstanding. Fenghai No. 3 High School was dressed in black. No matter the men or women, they were all the same. They had a unique style. Water City No. 1 High School. 3 men and 3 women were dressed in snow-white clothes. The sword hilts were exposed on their shoulders. They were like 6 sharp swords that had been unsheathed. The cold light flickered, and they were indomitable. Yangluo No. 1 High School. They were all dressed in blue robes. The 6 of them were all men. They sat cross-legged on the ground with their eyes closed. They did not care about their surroundings. The other schools also had their own unique characteristics. The most eye-catching people from Phoenix City Second High School. The first impression they gave was only one word: rustic. How uncouth. It was probably because these guys were wearing the school uniform with the school emblem embroidered on it. Originally, if this was the end of it, it would still be passable. However, the neat words on their backs, Phoenix City's Second High School, pulled down the style of this set of uniform by a few notches. It was as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know that they were from Phoenix City's Second High School. A martial arts teacher walked out with a box of lots in his hands. The drawing of lots begins. All team leaders, please step forward to draw lots. Zhou Xiaoduo stood up calmly, and the 11 captains took a step forward from their respective teams. None of them continued to walk forward. Instead, they swept their eyes across the faces of the other 10 people. The 11 of them felt their faces burning at the same time, as if there were 10 different weapons circling around their faces. Behind them, all the teachers in charge stood up at the same time, retreated 4 positions, and sat down on the spectator's stand. According to the rules, they were not allowed to stay beside the team. In other words, from now on, all decisions could only be made by the team itself. All the teachers in charge had a look of worry on their faces. Even if they were full of confidence in the team they were leading, there was no weakling among the remaining teams. No one dared to guarantee that their own students would win, take the lead, and come out on top. Even the teachers in charge of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, who had always had the highest chance of winning, felt extremely uneasy at this moment. After all, it wasn't as if there hadn't been strange occurrences before. The simplest example was that the first and second strongest teams had drawn lots together. After an extreme battle, both sides had suffered losses. In the end, a student whose overall strength was below theirs easily took the lead and became the champion. Although luck was also a part of strength, and a very large part of it, losing like this was still not something one could accept. Therefore, this drawing of lots was luck, but it was also a skill. Zhou Xiaoduo was the first to speak, breaking the silence with a laugh. Ha ha ha. Everyone hasn't moved yet. I guess everyone is waiting for me, who is ranked first, to move first. No problem, no problem. After all, not only is our Phoenix City No. 2 High School ranked first, but now it seems that among the 11 captains, I'm also the tallest. Zhou Xiaoduo laughed and took the lead to walk out. Why don't we just line up according to height and walk over together? It'll look so neat. The other 10 captains all rolled their eyes. This guy. Who wants to line up with you? Why should we listen to you? If we were to listen to you, wouldn't we become your accessories? Therefore, after Zhuo Xiaoduo, the 10 captains all stepped out and walked towards the high platform in 10 different directions. Neither fast nor slow, their footsteps were firm, and they moved forward courageously. The aura of the 10 captains was sharp. Zhuo Xiaoduo quickened his pace and was the first to arrive in front of the lot box. He said sweetly, "Thank you, teacher. Teacher, you've worked hard. When you come to Phoenix City, please let me know. This student will do his best to be a good host. Thank you, teacher, for your hard work today." As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and drew the first lot under the teacher's comfortable smile. Without even looking, he retreated to the side. The next moment, the 10 captains came to the lot box and stretched out their hands at the same time. The host teacher, who was originally full of kindness, frowned at once. Originally, nothing had happened. Everything was normal. However, after seeing Zhuo Xiaoduo's sweet-talking and extraordinarily polite scene, why did this teacher feel that these 10 captains seemed to be a little lacking in quality? The teacher has been standing here for so long. You don't even know how to thank me. You're stretching out your hands. Are you robbing me? What about your upbringing? What about your manners? He couldn't help but take a step back and frowned. What are you doing? Line up, one by one. I've already done everything for you in front. Why is it still so noisy? Where's your decency? The 10 captains' outstretched hands stopped in midair. They turned their heads and glared fiercely at Zhuo Xiaoduo. This bastard, he had unknowingly led them into another pit. Damn, why did I say, another? Zhuo Xiaoduo, who was being glared at by everyone, still had an honest smile on his face. He looked at everyone with eyes full of encouragement and said with a face full of righteousness, "Why are you looking at me? Just listen to your teacher. Teacher has such a good temper. How can I really be angry with you?" The 10 captains were so angry that they almost fainted. If it weren't for the last trace of rationality holding them back, they would have attacked him on the spot and beaten this bastard until half of his body was paralyzed. This bastard had an innocent and honest look on his face. However, only those who were involved in the situation knew that every word he said was a trap, and every sentence had a hook. How could there be such a despicable person in this world? How on earth did he train to look so simple and honest? Was this talent, or was it because of hard work and hard work? With a belly full of anger, they took a step back and took turns to draw lots. When they were drawing lots, everyone said, "Teacher, you've worked hard." This sentence was originally very normal. However, after this, why did it feel so suffocating when they said this sentence? They felt suffocated, but they didn't know that the teacher in charge of drawing lots was even more annoyed than them. If you don't want to say hello, then don't. Every one of you gritted your teeth and said, "Teacher, you've worked hard. I'm really fucking a dog. Are you fucking saying hello to me, or are you venting your anger on me?" There really was no harm without comparison. Now they knew what was gold and what was rubble. After the drawing of lots, this teacher didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stood on the stage and said a few words. "There's something that I didn't want to say, but I really have to say it." The teacher held the empty lot box with a gloomy expression on his face. Our Central Plains Longhu ranking competition is held once a year. The original intention was good, but now, there are really too many things that don't suit our Central Plains. One after another, they keep coming one after another. I have to say a few words. I'm just a teacher, and I know that my words carry little weight. However, standing here, I still have to remind everyone. What kind of place is the land that we're occupying? This is the land of ancient Qi and Guru in the ancient times. It's also the land of the saints in the legends, the land of etiquette. Not only that, it's said to be the ancient land of gods. In the ancient times, when students enter the examination hall, they have to kowtow to the teacher to thank him for his efforts. An invigilator, a teacher for a day, but a father for life. This is called etiquette. I don't expect you to know etiquette, and I don't expect you to be grateful for a lifetime. However, at the very least, you have to have basic etiquette, right? This teacher said resentfully, but I don't understand. Now that you've learned martial arts, carried the title of a genius, and achieved great success, you can disregard respect and completely ignore etiquette? What kind of saying is this? All the teachers here have come from all over the world. Their original intention is to recruit students for their own schools, but it's also for the safety of these competitions. We don't have anything else, only the school's salary and prize money. Coming here, we don't have a single cent of profit. Then, why did we come? After so many days of competition, who would first ask? Teachers have worked hard before going up the stage. If we disregard a few extremely rare students, this sentence is almost completely unheard of. It seems that the teacher's efforts, maintenance, and everything else is what they should do. Everything is so natural and logical. Everything is fair and reasonable. Is it really so? Is it like this? Is it so natural and right? Tens of thousands of miles, coming here from afar, under the scorching sun, taking care of, maintaining, protecting. Is it so natural and right? This teacher's voice was stern. Where has your respect for your teachers gone? Where has your respect and admiration gone? Where is your gratefulness hidden? Have your manners and respect been eaten by dogs? Especially you 10 captains. As captains, are you supposed to set an example for others? Just because Sua Xiaoduo came up to greet you, you are dissatisfied, and so you are collectively indignant to this extent? You feel that you are being controlled? That you are being manipulated? That you are being framed? That you are being set up? This is supposed to be natural and right. How can it be a trap in your eyes? How can it be a trap? How can it be a scheme? Is your self-esteem and pride so unattainable and untouchable? Look at your eyes, it's as if you want to swallow Sua Xiaoduo alive. Why? It's a very normal thing, a very ordinary greeting. How can it be worth bearing such a grudge? Since you don't want to greet me, just draw a lot and get lost. Do you think I care about you calling me teacher? In the end, all of you are gritting your teeth and greeting me with an ashen face. Are you greeting me or cursing me? In the future, when you come up to draw lots, other than Sua Xiaoduo, don't greet me. I am just Xiao's teacher, and I don't deserve a greeting from you bunch of geniuses. On the stage, this teacher vented his anger for a long time. His face was ashen, and he left in a huff. Chapter 337. This round of scolding made all the teachers in the high school fall into deep thought. Some of them even empathized with him. The scolding made all the participating students turn pale and tremble. The 10 captains stood on the stage. Each one of them was embarrassed and at a loss. This round of scolding was truly a torrential torrent of abuse, dripping with satisfaction. The only one who was not scolded was Sua Xiaoduo. He was even praised that each of them felt as if they had been fucked. In Shui City First High, the captain thought for a moment and suddenly took 2 steps forward. He stood tall, bowed deeply, and said loudly, "Teacher, you're right. This time, I was wrong. I sincerely apologize to all the teachers. Thank you again. You've worked hard. I'll be forever grateful. My impoliteness this time will be a stain on my life. When I return to Shui City, I'll go to the old principal's Don't Return Pagoda to face the wall and receive my punishment. Thank you, teachers. I know I was wrong." Zhou Yunqing's expression was clear. He bowed in all directions and left the stage with his head held high. The teachers' faces were filled with gratification. Even Sua Xiaoduo's face flashed with a rare look of appreciation. This Zhou Yunqing from Shui City First High was indeed not an ordinary person. Perhaps some people would think that this Zhou Yunqing was very scheming and could take things lying down. However, Sua Xiaoduo knew that this was not the case. This person was the kind of person who would rather break than bend. Once he knew he was wrong, he would apologize immediately. He would not wait until the next day. After Zhou Yunqing admitted his mistake and left the stage, the other captains could only apologize and thank him. However, the feeling of disgust in their hearts became even stronger. What the fuck was this? In this world, only Zhou Xiaoduo and Zhou Yunqing were sensible. If the two of you were so sensible, why didn't you go to heaven? The judges on the stage also felt uncomfortable, as if they had eaten shit. At the beginning, Zhou Yunqing's apology sounded a little sincere. But what's up with the other 9 fellows thanking us with expressions as if they had just eaten shit? Were they that disgusting? Was it so hard for them to accept a word of thanks? Were they trying to disgust them? Students these days. Each and every one of them has such low quality. One of the teachers sighed and said, each generation is worse than the last. In the long run, only martial arts will remain, but they will forget to respect their teachers and their teachings. If they lose their reverence, it will be a disaster for the entire human race. Another teacher looked further ahead. Not bad, not bad. This was a matter of atmosphere, and it was indeed not to be underestimated. Looks like we'll have to pay more attention to this aspect of teaching in the future. Another teacher nodded deeply. Indeed, we can't afford to slack off. No matter how high his talent is, if he doesn't have any humanity, how can we hope that he can wholeheartedly protect this continent? In the long run, it won't be rare for people to become immoral, casually use the names of their elders to abuse others, or use the deeds of heroes to insult others. We must put an end to it. Once discovered, we must punish them severely. Cultivation of the martial arts, cultivation of the mind, all of these are important. Not a single one can be missing. But now, people have neglected the latter too. They shouldn't have. Yes, remember to report this to the martial arts department when you go back. Alright. Below, the results of the draw were already being announced. Zhou Xiaoduo took the first lot and returned to his seat without even looking at it. Who did you draw? Wanli Xiu asked nervously. Of course it's a bai. Li Chenglong rolled his eyes. Zhou is the one who's picking. It's a miracle if he didn't draw a bai. Didn't you see him sit down as soon as he came back? He didn't even look at it. Otherwise, wouldn't he have already started to arrange the troops? Li Chenglong rolled his eyes. It's a good opportunity for me to take a break. Is it really a bai? Several others were curious and came over to check it out. Zhou Xiaoduo snorted and lowered his voice. He winked and said, there's only one empty spot. If I don't take it out, do you think I'll just let someone else take it out to see what's going on? He showed the lot. The number 11 on it was dazzling. Wow! Immediately, Zhou Xiaoduo jumped up from his seat excitedly. He was so excited that he attracted everyone's attention. He shouted happily, what good luck! It's actually a bai. His voice was so loud that it was deafening. Immediately, it attracted everyone's attention. Immediately after, countless people cursed in their hearts, and there were even more people who were jealous in their hearts. How could his luck be so good? The results of the draw. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School vs Garrison No. 1 High School. Feng Hai No. 3 High School vs Phoenix Tail No. 1 High School. Yang Luo No. 1 High School vs Tsangshan No. 1 High School. Water City No. 1 High School vs Nanji No. 1 High School. Shirko No. 1 High School vs Longbu No. 1 High School. Phoenix City No. 2 High School, a bai. After the drawing of lots, the 5 competition venues were waiting for the 2 teams to enter the venue. The referees of each venue were also in place, waiting for the match. Zhou Xiaoduo urgently assigned tasks. Go and watch the show. Through this competition, I hope to see the actual situation of these teams. I'll go and watch the battle between Hidden Dragon and Garrison. Long Yusheng and Wan Lixiu, you two go and watch the battle between Feng Hai and Feng Wei. Li Chenglong, you go and watch the battle between Yang Luo and Sangshan. Yu Moyan, you're in charge of the battle between Water City and Nanji. Li Zhongming, the remaining match is yours. Let me tell you, Li Zhongming, if you fall asleep, I'll eat you alive. Zhuo Xiaoduo gritted his teeth and threatened Li Zhongming. Immediately, Li Zhongming was so scared that his eyes widened and he was no longer sleepy. If someone else said this, Li Zhongming could laugh it off. However, Li Zhongming didn't dare to doubt Zhuo Xiaoduo's words. If Boss Zhuo said that he was going to eat Li Zhongming raw, then it was really possible that he was going to swallow him whole. He could not afford to be careless at all. However, what Li Zhongming did not understand was why they did not separate Long Yusheng and Wan Lixiu even though they knew that he was a little unreliable. Why did they not separate Long Yusheng and Wan Lixiu and let them each take charge of one match? What's so great about the two of them? It was just a competition, yet they still had to eat mouthfuls of dog food. Yes, the two of them were indeed great. Hu Ruoyun and Hu Lai both heaved a sigh of relief when they drew a bye for the first round. This way, they could deal with the situation more calmly. The 6 of them set off according to the arrangement and went to 5 different arenas to watch the show and spy on the enemy. Yu Moyan, you can try to find teacher Luo Yanling. If you don't understand, just ask. You must know how to use your advantages. Zhuo Xiaoduo whispered to Yu Moyan. Yu Moyan blushed. Obviously, he was embarrassed, but he still squeezed his way through. Luo Yanling was pleasantly surprised to see that Yu Moyan, who she thought highly of, was walking towards her. It seemed like he was going to watch the other matches. She was pleasantly surprised and took the initiative to welcome him. Yu Moyan. What are you going to do? Yu Moyan heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that he did not have to ask first. Scratching his head, he said with a troubled expression, we won't be participating in this match. Our boss assigned me a mission to spy on the other side. My target is the match between Water City First High School and South G First High School. As he spoke, his dark and thin face showed that he was in a difficult position. That's easy. Luo Yanling was worried about not being able to get closer to him. She immediately volunteered. I'll take you there. Is that okay? Yu Moyan's face was full of hesitation. What's not okay about it? Let's go. The match is about to start. Luo Yanling pulled Yu Moyan away. Zhuo Xiaoduo, who was watching from afar, heaved a sigh of relief. He turned around and went to find teacher Ma Zhangxi. Hello, teacher Ma. Zhuo Xiaoduo was as obedient and sensible as always. Zhuo Xiaoduo. Ma Zhangxi had a very good impression of Zhuo Xiaoduo. He smiled as soon as he saw him. His long horse face was smiling like a flower. You came to find me? Yes. Zhuo Xiaoduo went straight to the point. Didn't we happen to have a bye this round? But luck can't be used to make a living. In the end, we still have to rely on our strength. I was thinking of going to watch the match between Hidden Dragon No. 1 Middle School and Garrison No. 1 Middle School. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you'll never be defeated. But according to the rules, our teachers can't accompany us. I'm afraid that I won't be able to understand some parts. Ma Zhangxi laughed. It's a piece of cake. Come with me. Okay. Ma Zhangxi took Zhuo Xiaoduo and flew directly to the referee's seat. He said, this place has the best view. Thank you so much, teacher Ma. Zhuo Xiaoduo's face revealed a bit of uneasiness and awkwardness. If I do this, won't people say? Why don't I go down? Ma Zhangxi laughed. I'm standing here. Who dares to say anything? What kind of hothead is that? You can just stay here and watch. If anyone dares to fart, I'll kill him. The 6 referees at the side were all speechless. Ma Zhangxi, you took the lead to break the rules and even threatened others. Why, do you think your face is big now? You only have a fucking horse face. You only have a long face. You're not big. But at this moment, they were really embarrassed to slap Ma Zhengxi in the face. They could only let him stay. In the end, this was really not a big deal. Spying on the opponent's strength was the right thing to do. There was nothing to talk about. Hello, teachers. You've worked hard. As usual, Zhuo Xiaoduo's mouth was as sweet as honey. He eagerly went forward and tried to worm his way into being friends with them. With the teacher's profound cultivation, it must be extremely boring for you to come and watch us play like kids. Yet, you still have to seriously watch and analyze our potential. It's getting more and more difficult. And you've been doing so much for your students all year round. When I think about it, I really feel that it's not easy for you teachers. This work doesn't seem difficult, but if you analyze it carefully, who knows how much effort you put in. It's really countless times more than the fierce battle. It might not be as worry-free as the battle at Sun Moon Pass. Teachers, thank you very much. Zhuo Xiaoduo bowed solemnly and thanked them. When the 6 judges heard these words, they all had the same feeling. What he said had hit the nail on the head. Wasn't it just like that? After so many years, who really looked up to the hard work of the high martial arts teachers? Easy? Who dared to say it was easy? They would directly knock out their teeth. Everyone, give me a few recommendation votes. It's a little too little. There will be a 4th update later. Chapter 338. After listening to Zhuo Xiaoduo's speech, the teachers were filled with emotions. Just as Zhuo Xiaoduo had said, any one of them would be able to wipe out this group of students without much effort. Not to mention, there was no point in comparing their combat prowess. Even with such rookies fighting each other, they still had to sit here and act as judges. They also had to analyze the specific situation, individual combat awareness, various aptitudes, and so on. They were really tired of doing the same thing every day for so many years, but they had to do it. If this group of little fellows could not grow up, who would take over the heavy burden of the other side? Which powerhouse did not start at this stage? Generation after generation of powerhouses walked out of the school and went to various positions. Each of them became heroes, role models, and legends. They were praised by the world and admired by the world. However, the teachers who taught them continued to stay at their original positions day after day. They continued to teach batch after batch of new students. Who had the right to know their hard work and how difficult it was for them? Zhuo Xiaoduo's speech warmed the hearts of the 6 people, but there was also a sour feeling in their hearts. It's not easy. An old man with a white beard sighed softly. It's rare that there are still children nowadays who can say such things. This old man is worth it. This time, I traveled 17,000 miles to come here. Even if it's just because of this speech, this trip is worth it. Yes, Zhuo Xiaoduo, you're very good. Another middle-aged female teacher said with sparkling eyes, Zhuo Xiaoduo, do you have a high martial arts school that you like now? Ma Zhengxi frowned and said angrily, what are you trying to do? Zhuo Xiaoduo's face was bashful and honest. With an extremely sincere look, he said, actually, this student has not thought of a good place to go until now. I want to ask the teachers of this school for advice, but the teachers of this school stay in Phoenix City all year round. Phoenix City is located at the border, so I don't know much about the outside world. Therefore, if teachers have any suggestions, this student will definitely listen with an open mind and consider them carefully. After hearing what he said, the 6 judges and Ma Zhengxi felt embarrassed to directly recommend their own school. Yes, the students trusted them and came to ask for advice. If he only wanted to pull them to his own school, he would be too selfish. If his school was one of the top 3 famous martial arts universities, it would be fine. But if it wasn't, it was only for the good of his school. What if he really hindered this child's future? With this child's aptitude, it was best for him to go to Ancestral Dragon in Shangjing. There was the most suitable teacher for him there. However, if he were to deceive her with flowery words for the sake of his school, it was a huge delay. Every school wanted a genius. However, there was one thing that could not be doubted. Only with a specific cultivation technique, a specific physique, and a specific environment could it be perfectly compatible. This was the principle of getting twice the result with half the effort. It seems that we still need to think about it carefully. The white-bearded teacher muttered to himself and slowly said, "If you want to come to our school, we will naturally welcome you with open arms. However, if you only want a fair suggestion, you still need to seriously consider it." Zhuo Xiaoduo respectfully said, "Thank you, teacher. Actually, it is still early. In this competition, the reason why my Phoenix City's second high school was able to come to this stage was not without luck. However, this student does not have the confidence to go one step further, or even to become the champion. Why don't I wait for the final results to come out and consult the teachers? I believe that at that time, the teachers will have a better understanding of me. At that time, the suggestions will be more valuable and more comprehensive. This child, you are really not bad." The few judges were very appreciative. It was rare that this child was not anxious or impatient. Moreover, he was so clear-headed. He was simply experienced in worldly affairs. Indeed, only at that time would they be able to make the most direct and comprehensive judgment. The bell rang. 2 teams appeared one after the other on both sides. However, the 12 people on both sides of the battle were all shocked. That kid with a face full of smiles and flattery, wasn't that the captain of Phoenix City's second high school, Zhuo Xiaoduo? This bastard, why was he sitting at the referee's table? Oh, no, he was sitting at the referee's table. But what was going on? We're all here for the competition. Why are you looking down on us from above? What's going on? Even if you were here to spy on us, you shouldn't be so open and aboveboard, right? Could it be that you were watching a big show? The few people from Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School especially felt that they were no different from a fucking dog. Why the fuck are you haunting us? Go and look at the other teams. Why are you staring at us? However, now was not the time to think about this. Because the battle was about to start. They really did not have the time or the mood. There was no time to be distracted. On the opposite side, the 6 students from the Garrison No. 1 High School were burning with fighting spirit. They deeply knew that there was a gap between them and Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. However, even if there was a gap, so what? If we fight to the death, we might still have a chance. Since that was the case, then let's fight to the death. Everyone had the same thought, and their hearts shared the same reasoning. The moment the 2 sides came up, it was an explosive start of life and death. This battle was so fierce that even Zhuo Xiaoduo was shocked. In the first battle, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School sent out a boy and the Garrison No. 1 High School sent out a girl. The 2 sides fought fiercely and did not hold back. They fought until both sides were injured. One of the legs of the boy from Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School was directly broken. The girl on the opposite side suffered countless blows. Almost 1/3 of her bones were broken. Finally, she could not bear the heavy burden and fainted. This was the end of the first battle. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School won the first battle. It was a tragic victory. This kind of tragic atmosphere made the hearts of both the referee and the students sink. In the second battle, the captain of the Garrison No. 1 High School fought fiercely against the vice-captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. Both sides were injured. The captain of the Garrison No. 1 High School was hit 7 times. More than 1 kilogram of flesh was shaved off his body. However, he forcefully knocked the vice-captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School off the stage. He spat out more than 10 mouthfuls of blood and pieces of his internal organs before fainting. In the second battle, the Garrison No. 1 High School won, but it was also a tragic victory. The name of the Garrison No. 1 High School came from its name. It was said that this city was the place where the army was stationed before the war between the 2 armies in ancient times. Since ancient times, the people were valiant and did not fear death. The students of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School could be said to have perfectly inherited this valiant style. No matter who they met, there was only one word to describe it: fight. Even if they could not kill their opponents, could they not kill themselves? Now that they had met Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, they had already made up their minds. Even if they were to risk their lives, they would drag the Emperor down from his high horse. After the fourth battle, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School had 2 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. There were no exceptions for the contestants from both sides. They were all covered with injuries, both internal and external. In the fifth battle, the captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School personally fought. On the surface, Zhuo Xiaoduo did not show any change in expression. However, he secretly raised his spirits and observed with rapt attention. This guy was an old silver coin. He was practically the biggest old silver coin besides Laozi. Laozi must take a good look at this guy's background. In this battle, the captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School won rather easily. The atmosphere was much more relaxed than the previous 4 battles. The reason was simple. He had been forced to reveal his hidden embryonic breathing realm strength by his opponent. If he did not reveal his strength, which was far superior to his opponent's, he would have to bear a great deal of damage. Balancing the 2 evils, he chose to reveal his hidden strength and use his strength to suppress and crush his opponent. In the face of absolute strength, no matter how tenacious one's fighting spirit was, it was useless. Victory and defeat were clear. Zhuo Xiaoduo's judgment was that this guy was still holding back his strength. However, based on the instantaneous eruption, he should be at the pinnacle of the embryonic breathing realm. He still had not reached the primordial elixir realm. Looking at the strength, this guy should be a ruthless character who has suppressed his cultivation. Zhuo Xiaoduo thought to himself, at least 4 or 5 times he has suppressed the agitation of his vital essence. Moreover, he has already broken through to the high level of the embryonic breathing realm. The upper limit of his strength is very likely to be at the half step to the primordial elixir realm. It is rather impressive. In our team, other than me, there is really no one else who is a match for this guy. 5 battles, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School has 3 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. The winner is No. 1 High School of Hidden Dragon. On the opposite side, the leader of the garrison store stood up with blood all over his body. He smiled slightly and said, "I originally wanted to fight all 6 battles, but unfortunately, I don't have the chance to fight the 6th battle. However, we have already tried our best. We have no more regrets." He looked at the people from No. 1 High School of Hidden Dragon and said calmly, "It is a pity that this is not a battle formation fight." This sentence caused the expressions of all the teachers present to change. The valiant spirit of the students from No. 1 High School of the Garrison Store could be said to be the most suitable fighting style for a battle of life and death on the battlefield. If they met these people from No. 1 High School of Hidden Dragon on the battlefield, the number of casualties would definitely be less than that of No. 1 High School of Hidden Dragon. Even if their cultivation was far inferior, even if their realms were not as good, when it came to a battle of life and death on the battlefield, that the final winner might not be No. 1 High School of Hidden Dragon. The leader of No. 1 High School of Hidden Dragon was silent for a while. Then, he said calmly, "Maybe, but in this battle, we have won." The leader of the garrison store said calmly, "From the beginning, we did not expect to win. We only used all our strength so that you won't have it so easy in the next battle. You people from Hidden Dragon have been in first place for too long. This time, even if we have to cripple ourselves, we will reduce your strength by 30%. He raised his head and looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo. He smiled and said, "Leader Zhuo, do your best. Next year, I hope that Phoenix City's No. 2 High School will be the defending champion." Zhuo Xiaoduo laughed loudly and said, "Thank you, thank you. You have worked hard. If it is really as you said, I will treat you to wine for a year." Words are like the wind. It is a promise. The leader of the garrison store laughed and waved his hand. Then, he carried one of his brothers on his back and another in his arms and walked down the stage with the other team members. Even though he was seriously injured, he still walked with his back straight and his aura was dignified. The people from Hidden Dragon turned their heads and looked at Sui Xiao Duo. Their expressions were unfriendly. Chapter 339. Captain Zhua, your declaration is a bit premature. You may not even have the chance to fight against Hidden Dragon. The captain of Hidden Dragon smiled faintly, his gaze as sharp as a sword. You're right. Zhua Xiaoduo smiled and said, with Hidden Dragon's current situation, it's very likely that you'll be eliminated by other teams in the next round. If we can't fight against you, it would be a pity. The captain of Hidden Dragon knows his own limits. I'm ashamed of my inferiority. Hee hee. Let's wait and see. The people of Hidden Dragon also stepped down from the stage. Ma Zhangxi looked at Zhua Xiaoduo and asked, how do you feel? Hidden Dragon should still have a certain amount of hidden strength. Zhua Xiaoduo honestly expressed his opinion. In the eyes of these high martial arts teachers, this level of battle was really like playing house. No matter how much they tried to hide, they would be able to see through it with a single glance. Instead of wasting time and effort, it was better to directly tell the truth. They would be able to obtain more information. Yes, you're right. Ma Zhangxi sighed and said to the referees, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School has really taken the wrong path these past few years. The white-bearded teacher nodded and coldly laughed. In order to maintain the title of No. 1, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School's fighting style has become more and more scheming. All kinds of fancy tricks. It's not presentable. That's right. In a battle between martial artists, it's always best to be fair and square. Hidden Dragon's thinking has gone astray. The more skills you have, the more cunning you have, the less iron-blooded you will be. Another middle-aged female teacher also sighed, if this kind of student maintains this kind of mentality and goes to the battlefield in the future, they won't be able to live for more than a few days. That's why our high martial arts school has an even heavier responsibility. We need to change these bad habits during the time when the students come to the high martial arts school to cultivate. But to change these bad habits, it's not something that can be changed in a day. It will definitely delay the progress of martial arts. Another teacher almost wanted to curse out loud, is first place really that important? Maybe for Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. First place is that important. Ma Zhangxi said thoughtfully. Yes, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School is an affiliated school of Hidden Dragon High School. Another teacher sneered, Hidden Dragon Martial Arts, hee hee, Hidden Dragon Martial Arts. In the past few years, Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts has almost fallen out of the top 3 of the universities. All of their brains must be filled with shit. To be able to remain in the top 3 despite teaching their students in such a manner, they must be extremely lucky. What a pity. Back then, Senior Yi Qianlong spent a lot of effort to create the Hidden Dragon High Martial School. How glorious was that? Sigh. What's the use of sighing? Of course, we still have to respect our seniors. However, when it's time to replace them, we won't let them go. It's hard for us to surpass the seniors' prowess, but can't we surpass those good-for-nothings? What a joke. When Zhua Xiaoduo returned to his seat, Wan Lixiu and the others were discussing what they had seen. The atmosphere was lively, but there was still one person who had not returned. Li Changming. The match between Shirkou No. 1 High School and Longbu No. 1 High School was still ongoing. Above them, the referees and leaders had already started a meeting to discuss the progress of the competition. No one would have thought that this round of the battle for the top 8 would be so tragic. Out of the 8 teams that had already fought, 4 of them were directly defeated. As for the remaining 2 teams, they were still fighting in an even more tragic manner. The current result was a tie of 3-3. The 2 captains were in the final battle of the 7th round. However, no matter who won or lost, these two teams were destined to not be able to participate in the next round of the competition. With little combat power left, what could they use to fight in the next round? So what should they do next? Zhuoxiaoduo's Phoenix City No. 2 High School had a bye. Their strength was intact. It could be said that no matter which of the 10 teams they faced, Phoenix City No. 2 High School would definitely win. All the teams that lost were all defeated. At most, they only had 10 to 20% of their peak strength left. Therefore, Zhuoxiaoduo's team could just go through the motions and be done with it. What should we do? A group of high school teachers had a headache over the current situation. If they were to rest for a day and then fight again, it would obviously be unfair to Phoenix City No. 2 High School. They didn't get the bye by cheating. One had to know that luck was always a part of strength. Did they have to use time to erase the other team's advantage? Then what was the point of them getting the bye? After the last two teams finish fighting, we'll rest for 4 hours. At 3:00 in the afternoon, we'll start the second round. Okay. Call the 2 lead teachers and team members from Phoenix City. Let's give them some work. I hope they can understand. Okay. After all, an extra 4 hours of rest was still unfair to the teams that got the bye. Because as long as there were enough resources, 4 hours was enough to fully recover the strength of the participants. At least, they could recover more than half of their strength. Phoenix City No. 2 High School might have to pay a lot of unnecessary losses because of this break. However, to the surprise of the high school teachers, Phoenix City No. 2 High School didn't care about this at all. It's okay. Rest for a while. It's meaningless for us to fight a team that's already crippled. We'll just be a joke to them. Zhuoxiaoduo and the others accepted it without any hesitation. It was so quick that it was surprising and even inconceivable. The tournament committee was very pleased with Phoenix City No. 2 High School's Zhuoxiaoduo and the others' way of thinking about the big picture. After a round of praises, the matter was finally settled. 4 hours later, the 5 defeated teams and Phoenix City No. 2 High School drew lots again to determine the final 3 spots in the top 8. However, no one felt that there would be any suspense. Phoenix City No. 2 High School had strong soldiers and strong horses. Until now, they had never fought together. Every time, it was one person who defeated them. Even in the life and death arena, there was only one team leader. It could be said that they had come all the way to this point. In this kind of elimination round, no one thought that they would lose. 4 hours later, the 6 teams finally began to draw lots. Zhuoxiaoduo's team was coincidentally the garrison shop. The 2 team leaders stood on the stage for a while. The garrison shop's team leader and the other team members looked at each other and smiled. We admit defeat. This decision disappointed the people who were prepared to watch a big show. There was a slight commotion for a moment. Especially the 5 teams who had already finished and won. They even gave up on recuperating and gathered around to watch the competition. Everyone knew that Phoenix City No. 2 High School would be their strongest opponent. At this moment, other than the best opportunity to understand the situation of the other party, they were also praying for the team from Phoenix City's No. 2 High School to exhaust all of their remaining strength. Use the last of your strength to whittle down the strength of No. 2 High School. In the end, just as the 2 teams finished drawing lots, the other team from Garrison Shop No. 1 High School directly admitted defeat. At this moment, the 30 people from the 5 winning teams cursed angrily in their hearts. Damn it! Tens of thousands of mythical beasts roared in their hearts at the same time. Zhuoxiaoduo was also puzzled. He immediately asked, "Thank you. Thank you for letting us win. If I have the honor to meet you in the future, I must be friends with you." The Garrison Shop's team leader laughed. Our Garrison Shop's goal is to be in the top 20. Now that we have fought until now, it has already exceeded our expectations. Actually, our biggest wish in these few years is to take down the high and mighty hidden dragon No. 1 High School. Now, we are not strong enough, so we can't do it. Then we will place our hopes on you. As inevitable allies, no matter who we meet in this battle, we will not linger. We will not be a burden to our allies. He laughed and began to introduce his team members. I am Meng Zhongjun. This is the vice team leader, Hao Han. This is the team flower, Zhen Piapiao. This is Zhang Haonan. This is Feng Juncheng. This is Jia Kuang. The 6 of us. We are all military families and children of military personnel. Meng Zhongjun and the other 5 stood together and saluted. Congratulations to Phoenix City No. 2 High School for winning the first battle and slaying the hidden dragon. Zhuo Xiaoduo's face turned serious. He shouted, everyone. Li Chenglong and the others immediately lined up neatly and saluted at the same time. We will do our best. We will not let you down. The 12 of them bowed to each other and laughed loudly. Then, Meng Zhongjun waved his hand and led his team members out of the arena calmly. There was not the slightest bit of dejection. However, on the other side, none of the 5 victorious teams looked happy. Especially those from Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. Their faces looked as if they had just eaten shit. Damned garrison shop. The 6 people from Hidden Dragon cursed. They didn't even try to hide their emotions anymore. When they fought against us, they fought with their lives on the line, not hesitating to perish together with us. Both sides suffered great losses, causing us so much damage. Now that they're facing someone else, they don't even fight. This group of bastards, their intentions are worthy of death. That afternoon, the top 8 emerged victorious. The rankings were as follows: Phoenix City No. 2 High School, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, Water City No. 1 High School, Yangluo No. 1 High School, Fenghai No. 3 High School, Sangsha No. 1 High School, Phoenix Tail No. 1 High School, Dragon Belly No. 1 High School. Originally, Phoenix City No. 2 High School had a bye. According to the tournament rules, they shouldn't have been able to return to first place no matter what. However, when they faced Garrison Shop No. 1 High School, the other side chose to forfeit, allowing Phoenix City No. 2 High School to take all 4 points. Combined with their previous results, their total points were still the highest among all the teams. They were still ahead of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. This luck, they didn't fight for 2 rounds in a row and didn't suffer any losses. They were still in first place. That afternoon, they drew lots. The 8 captains from Phoenix City No. 2 High School all took turns. This time, everyone learned their lesson and greeted the teacher first. However, the teacher's face darkened and he didn't say anything. When it was Zhuo Xiaoduo's turn, Zhuo Xiaoduo didn't greet him. He only smiled sweetly. The teacher actually took the initiative to greet him with a pleasant expression. Good luck, Zhuo Xiaoduo. The other captains held their breaths in their chests. They only felt stuffy. What do you want us to do? Should we greet him or not? Last time, we didn't greet him and he scolded us. Zhuo Xiaoduo greeted him and he was praised. This time, we greeted him first and his face darkened. Zhuo Xiaoduo didn't greet him, but as the teacher, you actually took the initiative to encourage him. What do you want us to do? They were so angry that they trembled. Chapter 340. This time, Zhuo Xiaoduo purposely slowed down a bit. He waited for the other 7 people to finish before he picked up the remaining lot. At the extreme of the top 8, they would all meet strong teams. No matter who they drew, it would be the same. Zhuo Xiaoduo didn't want to pick soft persimmons. On the contrary, he wanted to draw the strongest team, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. He wanted to defeat this most threatening opponent first. After drawing the lot, the captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School suddenly raised his head and looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo, who was holding the lot in his hand without even looking at it. He suddenly asked loudly, Captain Zhuo Xiaoduo, why aren't you looking at the lot? Sua Xiaoduo held the lot in his hand and put it behind his back. He said calmly, "We are in the top 8. Any team is a strong opponent. No matter who we draw, it will be a tough battle. What difference does it make whether I look at it or not?" The captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School said calmly, "I have been looking forward to fighting against Phoenix City No. 2 High School." Sua Xiaoduo said calmly, "Oh." One was keeping him in suspense, while the other was not interested at all. The two of them couldn't even read each other's lips. They were like chickens talking to ducks. The captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School expected to be asked, "What's the result of the lot draw?" However, Sua Xiaoduo didn't ask, which made it difficult for him to continue the conversation. The captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School had prepared himself mentally. He just narrowed his eyes and continued the conversation. However, he said, "I am very happy. The next battle will be between you and us." Sua Xiaoduo said, "You put us in front of you. Do you think you will lose for sure?" "You will lose for sure." "Huh? So you will lose for sure?" "Yes, we will win for sure." "Yes, you are right. We will win for sure." Sua Xiaoduo sighed, yawned, and said, "How boring. You call yourself a captain? You can't even speak clearly. You keep repeating yourself incoherently. Let's go, brothers. Let's go back and rest. What do you think we should do tomorrow?" Long Yusheng and the others roared in unison, "Kill Hidden Dragon." "Ha ha ha." Sua Xiaoduo beamed with delight. With a wave of his hand, the 6 of them left the arena in a single file. He didn't even give the other party a chance to speak. The members of the Hidden Dragon clan also wanted to shout like that to boost their morale. However, the other party left right after shouting and did not stay for even a moment. If he did not shout now, he would only appear weak and sullen. However, if he shouted now, his opponent was no longer around. Oh, they shouted for us to hear, and then we shouted for the air to hear? They couldn't help but hold back their anger. After holding it in for a long time, they finally roared, "Victory! Victory!" Then, he left the stage unhappily. At the judging panel, all the referees and teachers had amiable smiles on their faces as they danced in joy. This captain of Phoenix City's No. 2 High School is really something. A teacher clicked his tongue in wonder. Not bad, not bad. This tactic was used beautifully. It was done with ease and with reason. Yes. First, it was to pester the other party endlessly. Then, the whole team roared and immediately left the stage. They didn't give the other party any chance to vent. This caused all the members of the other party to hold back their anger and not be able to vent. This anger will definitely be suppressed for an entire night. Let's not talk about the impact on their morale. If the Hidden Dragon clan can't adjust their mentality tonight, not only will they not be able to rest well, their mood will also be affected the next day. Just from weakening the other party's morale, attacking the other party's fighting spirit, and weakening the other party's fighting strength, it can be said to be a considerable success. This Sua Xiao duo is not only honest, sincere, reliable, intelligent, and awe-inspiring. Even the use of strategy and tactics is extremely ingenious. It's really hard to come by. He's a talent that will last forever. Teacher Ding Xiulan of Shangjing's Ancestral Dragon High School liked Sua Xiao duo very much. She didn't hide it at all. The others rolled their eyes. Although we also wanted to say that, you said it first. Why did it sound so weird to me? Hu Ruoyan's face was distorted. She left a little unnaturally. Every time I hear them praise Sua Xiao duo, awe-inspiring, honest, and sincere. Why do I feel so guilty? That night, Sua Xiao duo and the others had a good sleep. They didn't even do their daily cultivation. They slept soundly the whole time. They slept until dawn. They walked out of the room energetically and had breakfast. Then, Sua Xiao duo began to chase them away. Did you go to the toilet? Big or small? Who would want to do that? Go quickly. Li Zhangming. Are you still sleepy today? Li Chenglong, your hemorrhoids have healed. Xiao, your relatives didn't come today, right? Li Chenglong and Wan Li Xiao were furious. You're the one who has hemorrhoids. I don't have hemorrhoids. Li Chenglong scolded. You're the one who has relatives. Your whole family has relatives. Wan Li Xiao was embarrassed and angry. She wanted to kill someone on the spot. Well, if it wasn't for the fact that she knew she couldn't win, she would have done it countless times. Ha ha ha. Let's go. Zhuo Xiaoduo waved his hand. The 6 of them followed Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai out of the hotel and went straight to the arena. The early morning sun shone on the faces of the 6 of them. It dyed their bodies golden and brilliant. 8:00 in the morning. The first arena. There were 6 chairs on each side. After entering the top 8, they had the basic preferential treatment. They didn't have to sit on the ground anymore. There were chairs to sit on, and they could see everyone on their side from the opposite side. With the start of the match, Zhuo Xiaoduo took the lead and jumped out. His tall and handsome figure was tall and straight. The eyes of the opposite side lit up. The captain of the Hidden Dragon team stood up and looked at them from afar. He revealed a confident smile. The opponent is Zhuo Xiaoduo. As the captain, he jumped out first. Since that's the case, I will cripple him. I will take the first step and destroy their morale. Naturally, he couldn't wait to jump out. Good. I'm the captain of Hidden Dragon Team 1, Shimen Daqing. Please enlighten me, Captain Zhuo Xiaoduo. Shimen Daqing's face was solemn. He clasped his hands and bowed. Zhuo Xiaoduo was stunned. You're the captain for the first match. That's right. Shimen Daqing nodded and grinned. As the captain, it's natural for me to take the first victory. Zhuo Xiaoduo nodded. I admire you. But you have to wait for a while. This time, I'm not in a hurry to start the match. I just want to introduce my team members. Also, I'm not the first to fight. Please wait patiently. Shimen Daqing's face suddenly turned purple. He was stunned. You're not the first to fight. Then why did you jump out? However, he had admitted that he was going to fight in front of everyone. It was too late to change his words. He had obviously fallen into a trap. He was so angry that he wanted to swallow Zhuo Xiaoduo. Zhuo Xiaoduo. Are you playing with me? Playing with you? Zhuo Xiaoduo looked at him suspiciously. He sized him up and said, You don't have that organ. How can I play with you? Suddenly, his face turned pale. He took a step back and shook his head. I'll say this first. I won't take the back door. I'm a righteous person. Shimen Daqing was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Countless spectators were stunned for a while. Then, they burst out laughing. At the judges' table. 3 of the judges at this table came from the 3 famous schools. Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts, Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts, and Yunduan High Martial Arts. Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts Ding Xiulan laughed and said, This temperament is not on the same level. Look at how angry the captain of Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts is. Sigh, poor kid. He's so angry before the fight even started. Even if they're evenly matched, once he loses his state of mind, the chances of him losing will be higher. Unless there's an overwhelming difference in strength. Another person, a teacher from Yunduan High Martial Arts, smiled and said, Zhuo Xiaoduo has already angered him to this extent. How can he give him a chance to calm down? However, if Zhuo Xiaoduo doesn't fight, it's basically impossible for the other little guys to defeat Shimen Daqing. This battle is not so much a battle of attrition. It's better to call it a battle of display. The other teachers smiled and nodded. This sentence was true. Zhuo Xiaoduo had shown enough. This was giving the other students a chance to show off. And the strongest opponent, Shimen Daqing, was a touchstone. Because of Shimen Daqing's cultivation, the teachers knew better. In Zhuo Xiaoduo's heart, it's already beyond the scope of victory and defeat. This kid is really good. Almost all the teachers had this thought in their minds. Sure enough, Zhuo Xiaoduo laughed and said, "Since you're in such a hurry and can't wait, then I won't be in a hurry to introduce our members, so as not to waste your time. Li Zhangming, fight!" Li Zhangming shouted and jumped out with a whoosh. He took a few big steps forward. He raised his head and roared, "I'm Li Zhangming from Phoenix City's 2nd high school. Today, I'm going to fight to the death. I won't stop until my blood runs dry." He pounded his chest with both hands and roared ferociously like a chimpanzee. He looked unusually agitated. On the other side, Shimen Daqing was so angry at Zhuo Xiaoduo that his mouth was crooked and his eyes were slanted. How could he not know that he had been tricked? But he had already come out. If he went back, it would only be more embarrassing. When he saw that the other party had only sent a small fry, he became even angrier. He was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. With a clear ring, the bell suddenly rang. The battle began. The moment the bell rang, Shimen Daqing's body soared into the air like a dragon and rushed toward Li Zhangming. "End the battle quickly!" Li Changming shouted loudly. His body shook violently. However, he raised his hand in a split second, and a white mist suddenly rushed out. It directly sprayed Shimen Daqing, who was rushing all over his face. Shimen Daqing was shocked. He hurriedly held his breath, but the white mist had already sprayed on his face. It was really a large area of indiscriminate contact. He hurriedly landed on the ground and asked angrily, "You used poison?" Li Zhangming rolled his eyes and said, "If you don't know anything, then say you don't know anything. Have you seen such a high-grade poison? Besides, even if I used poison, so what? Did the rules of the competition say that poison is not allowed?" Shimen Daqing shouted and no longer spoke. He rushed over for the 2nd time. Li Zhangming turned around and ran around the arena. He ran in circles as much as he could, but he didn't want to fight Shimen Daqing head-on. Shimen Daqing used his highest speed to chase, block, and attack. Several attacks had already landed on Li Zhangming's body, but Li Zhangming completely ignored them and continued to run happily. "Why are you running? Make a move and fight." Shimen Daqing said angrily, "Are you here to fucking race?" The moment he opened his mouth, Li Zhangming suddenly stopped and flipped his hand. Pooh! Another wave of white mist greeted him. And when this wave of white mist came, he pounced forward. Fist and leg met, and he exchanged a few blows with Shimen Daqing. Chapter 341. Li Changming's snores were deafening. On the other side, Shimen Daqing was also snoring non-stop. Huff huff. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. Puff. Shimen Daqing seemed to have entered a state of deep sleep. As he slept, he snored. After a while, he began to grind his teeth. Suddenly, he turned over and let out an unusually loud fart. A stench instantly filled the air. It was actually a loud and smelly super fart. This Shimen Daqing looked like a talented person, but his sleeping posture was actually so bad. Grinding teeth, snoring, farting, whistling, it was really not lacking. That handsome image of a tree in the wind suddenly disappeared. This caused everyone present to be astonished, amused, and confused. What was going on? Why did the two of them fall asleep while they were fighting? But the judges did not say anything and just watched them sleep. Could it be? There was something else going on. On the stage, the 6 judges' faces were incomparably solemn, unprecedentedly solemn. Great Dream Divine Technique. It's actually the Great Dream Divine Technique. Ding Xiulan's eyes were shining. How old is this kid? He has already cultivated the great dream divine technique to the peak of the second level. To be able to pull people into a dream in the middle of a battle. Huff huff. Great dream divine technique. It is said that this technique has long been in decline. For a long time, no one has been able to endure the difficult cultivation of the first few levels. Who is this kid? His surname is Li. He doesn't look very old, but he actually. A teacher from Yunduan High Martial Arts School stared wide-eyed. He was so shocked that he could not speak coherently. A peerless genius. Another judge sighed softly. Another peerless genius. This kid, looking at his facial features, he is definitely not more than 20 years old. Definitely not more than 20 years old. The eyes of all the high martial arts teachers lit up. The great dream divine technique that had not appeared in the world for a long time was actually cultivated by someone. Moreover, it was cultivated to the small success level. Don't talk, there are changes. Ding Xiulan's face was solemn. On the stage, the two people who were snoring just now had a change in expression. Li Changming's face became serious and nervous. Shimen Daqing's face also became terrifying, manic, and ruthless. The battle in the dream has officially begun. Sigh, what a pity. Ding Xiulan sighed again and again. Li Zhangming was first injured, and then one of his arms was broken by Shimen Daqing. The outcome of this battle is uncertain. If the gap between the two of them was slightly smaller, Shimen Daqing, who had fallen into the dream of the other side's main battlefield, would have been crushed. What a pity. This is something that can't be helped. This Li Zhangming must have suppressed his own cultivation progress and realm many times. His foundation is much stronger than that of a normal student. However, Shimen Daqing has also suppressed his own realm. Moreover, Shimen Daqing's real cultivation is at the pinnacle of the embryonic breathing realm. Li Zhangming is only at the innate realm. Another teacher sighed. Just being able to drag Shimen Daqing into the dreamscape is already a miracle. The expressions of the two people who were lying down and sleeping changed again. Li Zhangming's face revealed a pained expression, while Shimen Daqing grimaced, giving off a feeling of gnashing his teeth. It was rare for anyone to see the battle between the two in the dream, but anyone could see that the battle between the two had reached a critical moment. Such a battle atmosphere was definitely much more dangerous than what could be seen with the naked eye. Suddenly, Li Zhangming's expression changed. Fresh blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, instantly dyeing the ground red. Shimen Daqing, who was opposite him, also groaned. Traces of blood slowly flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Zhuo Xiaoduo's gaze was like an eagle's, watching the battle without blinking. After a while, Li Zhangming groaned. His body curled up, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood foam from the corner of his mouth. Shimen Daqing, who was opposite him, also groaned and started to spit out large mouthfuls of blood. Shimen Daqing is going to lose. Ding Xiulan sighed. Li Zhangming is undoubtedly a genius for being able to do this. It's a pity that if he wins this battle, I'm afraid his vitality will be damaged and his path of martial arts will be severed. Sigh. The other teachers were also understanding people. They all sighed and nodded. On the other side, Zhuo Xiaoduo, who had been paying attention to the battle, saw Li Zhangming spit out blood foam. When he took a closer look, his expression changed. He jumped out and said, "We admit defeat for this battle." Before he finished speaking, he rushed in front of Li Zhangming and slapped his dantian. He pried open his mouth and threw a pill in. Then, he poured a basin of ice water that he had prepared earlier on Li Zhangming's head. Then, with a slap, he slapped Li Zhangming's buttocks heavily. This slap on the buttocks was loud and crisp. It directly resounded through the entire arena. It was extremely pleasing to the eye. Even though many people knew that this might be a necessary process and that the intention was to save someone, they still couldn't help but laugh out loud. Some people laughed while thinking, how fleshy is this buttocks to be able to make such a crisp sound that it echoed through the entire arena. Li Zhongming slowly woke up. When he saw Zhuo Xiaoduo, he spat out another mouthful of blood. He asked expectantly, "Did I win?" "I admit defeat for you." Li Zhongming panicked. "Then why did you wake me up? Give me half a minute and I'll definitely drag him to death. At the very least, both of us will be injured. Then you'll be crippled for the rest of your life." "It's not worth it," Zhuo Xiaoduo explained faintly. Then, he dragged Li Zhongming back. After walking a few steps, he said, "If you follow my method, you can wake Shimen Daqing up. I'm a decent person. If I really don't like that, then I won't personally save him. I don't want to be blamed. In this world, there are all kinds of people." Li Zhongming was still in pain when he returned to his seat. He was so depressed that he kept muttering to himself, "I've embarrassed the old principal. I've embarrassed Second High." Blood and tears rolled down from the corner of his mouth. He wasn't putting on an act. He was truly heartbroken. Phoenix City's Second High had dominated the Longhu ranking battle. Until now, they had won one victory after another. Their only defeat had actually happened at his hands. Little Fatty's heart was extremely pained. "Your defeat can't be considered a defeat. You've contributed greatly and will be the cornerstone of our victory today." Zhuo Xiaoduo said faintly, "You've killed the person with the highest combat power among them. At the very least, his soul is severely injured. He won't be able to recover in a few days. Even if there are 100 more nourishment chambers, it won't be able to recover his soul quickly. I should have stopped you when you spat out the first mouthful of blood. However, if I did that, the price they paid would be too small. It wouldn't match your contribution. That's why I waited until now to stop. Although your injuries are more serious, you've directly crippled the opponent's highest combat power. I'm not lying when I say that you can't be considered a defeat. If you win this battle, you'll be the champion of the Longhu ranking battle. Your contribution will be the greatest." Zhuo Xiaoduo said in a low voice. Li Zhongming said with tears in his eyes, "Don't comfort me. If I really steal your contribution, you'll definitely beat me up. It's not like I don't know. You like to settle scores after the autumn." Pfft. Wanli Xiu, Long Yusheng, and the others, who were squeezing over to comfort him, all spat out a mouthful of saliva. Zhuo Xiaoduo was stunned. After a while, he said, "Then you can cry. Cry until you die." "I won't cry anymore." Li Zhongming wiped his tears and stopped crying. "You just said that if we win this battle, I'll be the one with the greatest contribution. I'll be the champion in the end. You can't deny this." Everyone heard it. Zhuo Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and remained silent for a long time. Li Chenglong muttered to himself, "Does this count as Li Zhongming sleeping with Shimen Daqing? Will the little fatty take responsibility?" Suddenly, this topic aroused everyone's interest. "Hey, you're right. Li Zhongming, this scumbag, seems like he's not going to take responsibility. TSK, TSK, TSK. Poor Shimen Daqing, he was slept with for nothing. Scumbag. Li Zhongming." Li Zhongming's face twisted. He really didn't have the strength to argue. Otherwise, he would definitely beat them up. At the referee's seat, a few high martial arts teachers watched as Zhuo Xiaoduo dragged the person down and watched the people from Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School save the captain. After a long, long time, they looked at each other with strange gazes. Not bad. The 6 judges all looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo and Li Zhongming's side. Their eyes were full of praise. Although Phoenix City No. 2 High School admitted defeat in this battle. However, there were simply too many things that were worth pondering over. In the dreamland created by the Great Dream Divine Technique, Li Zhongming was the absolute home ground. Even if his physical body was injured and his cultivation was limited, it seemed like he was at a disadvantage. As long as he continued to fight in the dreamland, Li Zhongming's advantage would only increase. Once it reached the point of life and death, the one who would die in the end would definitely be Shimen Daqing. This was already decided from the moment he was pulled into the dreamland. Of course, Li Zhangming, who went to extremes, wouldn't have a good ending. He was still forcing himself to enter the dreamland to kill people. The price he would have to pay in the end was very likely to be the end of his cultivation, with no way forward. But no matter what, in terms of winning or losing, Li Zhangming was still the winner. And Zhou Xiaoduo admitted defeat before his life was in danger. Just when Shimen Daqing's soul was confirmed to have been damaged and his internal organs burst and spat out blood. Just when Li Zhangming was about to kill his opponent, he admitted defeat. The teachers were all asking themselves, if it were me, would I call for a stop at this time? After thinking about it, they couldn't make up their minds. But the more it was like this, the more reliable Zhou Xiaoduo seemed. Because in Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes, what they cared about was worthless. What he cared about was his brother's life and future. Such a person was definitely worth entrusting his back to at any time. It's not that he didn't care about winning or losing. It's also not that he couldn't bear to kill Shimen Daqing. He just cared more about his brother's injuries. He knew that he would win if he continued fighting, but he would rather admit defeat to ensure Li Zhangming's safety. He wouldn't hurt his foundation and have a limitless future. This kind of breadth of mind is worthy of a toast. Ding Xiulan's eyes were shining as she glanced at Zhou Xiaoduo. But she pursed her lips and didn't say anything, which was rare. This kind of talent must be recruited. Talents and geniuses were different. Geniuses were aptitudes, but talents were all round. The matter of recruiting people to the school had to be carried out quietly. It had to be settled once the hammer fell. If there was a disturbance and new problems arose, it would be bound to be a long night with many dreams. At that time, it would be hard to say who would emerge victorious. They had to enter the village quietly. Don't shoot. Chapter 342. The referee from Hidden Dragon High School had a gloomy expression. He looked at Shimen Daqing, who had vomited a few mouthfuls of blood and fainted again. His eyes were filled with unconcealable disappointment. But when he looked at Zhou Xiaoduo, his gaze became more and more fervent. These years, Hidden Dragon High School has been getting more and more biased. The iron and blood aura is getting thinner and thinner, the wind of the big picture is getting weaker and weaker, and the air of a king is getting weaker and weaker. We really need a good leader. And this Zhou Xiaoduo is ruthless to the outside but protective of the inside. He will not be soft-hearted when he needs to be, and he will not hesitate when he needs to give up. The rarest thing is that he values friendship and righteousness, and he is especially steady when looking at the big picture. He is an honest and sincere person, and has a pure heart. He is a good candidate for a king. If Hidden Dragon High School carefully nurtures him, he might be able to turn the bad wind around and turn the rotten into the spring breeze. The more the teacher thought, the hotter his gaze towards Zhou Xiaoduo. Originally, the focus of Hidden Dragon High School's enrollment had always been on Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. This way, they could guarantee that the people they brought out would always be their own people, and they would not have to worry about other forces. But in recent years, Hidden Dragon High School's image had been getting worse and worse, and their external results were getting worse and worse. The feedback from the students who went out was also not very good. Hidden Dragon High School's image could be said to have plummeted. Many old stubborn people were still carrying out the current policy, and they felt that there was nothing wrong with their insistence. But there were already many teachers who were thinking of changing. Zhou Xiaoduo looked at the aura of the people on the other side carefully and said, "Next, you can fight as you wish. As long as they don't send out the vice-captain and the two girls. We can win one match and even the score." Li Chenglong was a little worried and said, "What if they send out? Are we going to lose another match?" "It doesn't matter if they do. At most, we will lose another match. It won't affect the big picture." Zhou Xiaoduo laughed arrogantly, "I will go up and beat the rest of them in one go." Once we are done, we can call it a day. Li Chenglong rolled his eyes and said, then I will go up. Yes, that's good. Remember this, and your chances of winning will increase. Zhuo Xiaoduo lowered his voice and said, they've been sparring more than fighting. Their life and death experience is far inferior to ours. Li Chenglong's eyes lit up. Understood. In the previous match, Hidden Dragon High School was the first to fight, and Li Zhongming was the one to fight. Although they lost, it was a glorious defeat. But this time, it was Phoenix City's second high school's turn to fight first. Li Chenglong took a step forward, and the other side began to discuss. Li Chenglong smiled faintly, my name is Li Chenglong, I come from Phoenix City's second high school. I am the vice-captain of our team. The self-introduction was complete. Everyone knows each other's information by heart. Is there a need to discuss for so long? Opposite. After a round of discussion, a slender and elegant girl in white stood out. Her facial features were exquisite, and her clothes were as white as snow. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She was very beautiful. Hidden Dragon High School, Xiangbing. The two of them bowed to each other, please. Zhuo Xiaoduo called out from behind, Feng Feng. Don't be mesmerized by her beauty. Even if you like her, wait until the fight is over. Only the winner has the right to talk. Xiang Bing's face turned red. She looked at Li Chenglong with a bit of anger in her eyes. Li Chenglong still wanted to explain, but the other side's attacks were already coming at him like a storm. Feng Feng steeled his heart, but he did not dodge or evade. Instead, he charged forward with brute force. In this match, both sides did not use any weapons. They were fighting in close quarters. Xiang Bing did not use any weapons, so naturally Li Chenglong did not use any. Only the sound of banging could be heard, one after another. The other side looked like a quiet and delicate girl, but she was actually fierce and frightening when fighting. However, Li Chenglong had been trained by Zhuo Xiaoduo. His skin was rough and his flesh was thick. His resistance was far better than ordinary people. He managed to hold on all the way. This round of fighting lasted for a full 3 to 4 minutes. The sound of drums kept ringing. Finally, after a deep muffled sound, both of them somersaulted and stood facing each other. Pfft! Zhuo Xiaoduo spat out what he saw. Li Chenglong's nose was bruised and his face was swollen. His eyes were black and blue. His mouth was cracked and blood was flowing out. On the other hand, the beautiful woman in front of him was also disheveled. She had 2 panda eyes, and her hair was disheveled. Her nose was broken, and it looked a little flat. Her small mouth was swollen from the beating, and the skin on the other side was broken. Chest, lower abdomen, thighs. There were 7 to 8 black footprints on her white clothes. There were also overlapping ones. Li Chenglong was rubbing his wrists, while Xiang Bing was moving her ankles. Both of them stared at each other, as if they were looking at a mortal enemy. Zhuo Xiaoduo was not the only one who was stunned. Even the audience in the audience were all spitting out their mouths. Even the referees were stunned. To be honest, even with their vast experience and knowledge, they had seen many men and women fighting. However, it was the first time in their lives that they had seen such a fierce fight between a man and a woman. Li Chenglong did not know what it meant to have tender feelings for the fairer sex. He did not know what it meant to treat a beautiful girl well. Her face, neck, nose, chest, lower abdomen, thighs, and buttocks. He really hit wherever he could. He did not show any mercy at all. If it were other men, who would not have a manly demeanor? Who would have the nerve to punch another person's beautiful face? It was better to chop off a woman's head than to ruin her face. This was almost a convention. Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts teacher Ding Shilan sighed. This kid is actually the legendary Iron Straight Man. He belongs to the category of Iron Straight Men. If he finds a wife, she will be his punching bag. The few male teachers were also thinking in their hearts. If Li Chenglong came to their school, they might really have to take care of the problem of finding a partner. Otherwise, looking at his behavior today, he would definitely be a bachelor for the rest of his life. One must know that this competition was broadcasted live nationwide. Li Chenglong became famous in an instant. He was even more famous than Zhuo Xiaoduo. Zhuo Xiaoduo directly beat the beauty to death. Many people online who did not know the truth scolded him. Such a beauty was beaten to death just like that. It was too wasteful. Did he not know how to take advantage of the situation? However, when it came to Li Chenglong, the internet was boiling. My mother asked me why I was kneeling while watching the live broadcast. Because I found a rare iron straight man. Legendary level is not enough to describe him. Only mythical level can describe him. What a fucking straight man. Oh my god. This girl's face is not enough for me to kiss for a year. He directly disfigured her. Look at the footprint on her chest. Oh my god, can you feel the soles of your shoes? Her pair of phoenix eyes were beaten into pandas. Her cherry lips became a ripe watermelon. TSK TSK TSK, this big brother, I'm kneeling to you. This kid even tore her hair. Fuck, look carefully. The beauty's ear. Fuck, this kid tore her ear. He almost tore it off. Let's talk about it later. They're fighting again. They're fighting again. Everyone hurriedly looked in the direction of the sound. They saw that the Iron Straight Man once again launched an attack and fought with Miss Xiang Bing for the second time. The muffled sounds of fists hitting flesh were heard almost continuously. Blood splattered everywhere. Looking at her current appearance, no matter how outstanding Xiang Bing's talent was, or how strong her cultivation was, she was now an ugly monster that she was really beaten up too badly. The two of them continued to fight in this most extreme way until they were exhausted. Only then did the speed of their punches slow down. Every time there was a bang, everyone in the audience, including the audience who were watching the live broadcast, could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. They all had a subtle feeling that they did not want to watch, but they could not let it go. In the end, the two of them were no longer fighting. They were competing to see who could take more hits. Admit defeat. Li Chenglong fiercely punched Xiang Bing's originally perky but now bloody nose. His expression was unprecedentedly ferocious. I really don't want to hit a woman. As soon as this sentence came out, everyone felt a toothache. You fucking. Haven't you hit enough? If you want to hit a woman, how are you going to hit her? Dismembering him by 1,000 cuts and tearing him into pieces? Go to hell. Xiang Bing fiercely rushed forward. Li Chenglong roared. His bloodied face twisted with a ferocious expression. His whole body rushed forward and actually knocked Xiang Bing to the ground 7 or 8 meters away. Then, Li Chenglong pounced forward. His whole body crossed the 7 or 8 meters distance. With the force of a mountain, he suddenly pressed on Xiang Bing's body. His two legs skillfully twisted and separated, separating Xiang Bing's legs. Then, he used his body to press down on her body. Panting heavily, he roared, "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" Xiang Bing struggled desperately, but Li Chenglong simply grabbed both of her hands and pressed them on both sides of her head. Then, he lowered his head and roared, "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" No. Xiang Bing struggled desperately and shouted, "Even if I die, I won't admit defeat." Pfft. Li Chenglong freed one hand and punched Xiang Bing's face. "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" With a shout, he punched again. Another punch. Another punch. All of them smashed on the originally beautiful face with great force. "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" Wah! Xiang Bing cried. Suddenly, she gave up all of her struggles and wailed. "You bully." Pfft. This sudden cry stunned Li Chenglong. This punch did not hit her face, but hit the ring beside her head. He said in a daze, "Why are you crying?" "Shit. We were having a good match, you actually cried. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? You actually have the face to ask her why she is crying?" Countless men who were watching the live broadcast banged their heads against the wall. A wave of speechless emotions surged in their hearts and gushed out, but they could not say anything. "I'm so angry. I'm so angry. This straight man bro, please be merciful and let me go." Chapter 343. She was a top-notch beauty, yet he had beaten her until she was unrecognizable. Then, he had posed in such a typical position of rape that she was already powerless to fight back, yet he still wanted to punch her again and again. And he didn't allow her to cry. That was awesome. That was really too awesome. That train of thought was admirable. The eyebrows of the few judges twitched wildly. Without saying anything, they hurriedly announced, "In this battle, Phoenix City Second High School's Li Chenglong wins." On the ground, Xiang Bing was still lying limply on the ground, crying loudly. Li Chenglong was still riding on her. He was about to stand up when he heard the announcement. However, the moment he relaxed, Xiang Bing scratched his face crazily. "Fuck." Li Chenglong hurriedly pressed down again, suppressing the person beneath him for the second time. With swollen eyes, he shouted in a sorry state, "Someone quickly come and get her off. I don't hit women, dot." Everyone was speechless and speechless. Just this battle, which lasted less than 10 minutes, had made Li Chenglong famous on the internet. Famous all over the country. He was respectfully called Brother Iron and Steel by millions of netizens. Moreover, each of them swore to the heavens that in this lifetime, there wouldn't be a second man who could be steadier than Brother Iron and Steel. Countless people worshipped him as their idol. Only when another girl in white from the opposing team came to support Xiang Bing did Li Chenglong dare to let go. He was still on guard, afraid of being attacked a second time. When his swollen eyes swept across the other girl in white and he was about to say something, the girl in white, who was also in the embryonic breathing realm, actually shuddered. Her pretty face instantly lost its color, and her eyes were full of panic. She hurriedly carried Xiang Bing and ran away like a wisp of smoke. She probably wouldn't run away even if she saw a ghost. Li Chenglong. Xiang Bing was still struggling in the girl's arms. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws while crying loudly, "Li Chenglong. Sob sob, just you wait. I won't let you off in this lifetime." Li Chenglong stood on the spot blankly. He scratched his head and advised, "Miss, why are you so concerned? It's just a competition." Xiang Bing cried even louder. Li Chenglong returned to the team and received a hero's welcome. Zhou Xiaoduo, Long Yusheng, Yu Moyan, and Li Zhangming all bowed deeply in unison. They looked completely convinced and impressed. "Boss Li. I've never been convinced by anyone in my life, but this time, all of us are completely convinced by you." "I'm convinced." "Really?" The expressions of the four of them were extremely solemn. They shook their heads and sighed, feeling ashamed of their inferiority. All of this came from the bottom of their hearts. "Tell me about your thoughts." "Thoughts?" Li Chenglong was swaying, and his mind was a little muddled. "I think it's all thanks to Zhou beating me up every day. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to last this round." As he spoke, he had already walked to the side of the group. Suddenly, his vision turned black and Li Chenglong fainted. In this round, to be honest, Swollen was also beaten up very badly. Li Chenglong's opponent's real strength was always one whole level higher than his. The whole process was a head-on melee combat. Other than testing each other's ability to resist attacks, it was also a competition of real attack power. All the skills and techniques were almost completely useless in this battle. It was like two bulls smashing into each other and hammering each other. If you beat me, you win. If I beat you, I win. There was no shortcut. Xiang Bing was already prepared before the battle. She had a elemental energy elixir under her tongue. Li Chenglong did the same. Both of them used up the 2 elemental energy elixirs that could instantly replenish their vitality. It was just that extreme that was why the battle was so tragic. It's understandable that I came up with such a strategy for Swollen. But why did the opponent choose such a strategy? It doesn't make sense either. Zhuo Xiaoduo was really puzzled. Letting a girl use this kind of close combat method, wasn't the organizer of the opposing team too brainless? Little did he know that Xiang Bing was the descendant of the ancient martial arts family, the Xiang family. Her family passed down the Overlord Fist, which was best known for close combat. Although Xiang Bing was a girl, she was known for her valiance when it came to fighting. She never used any weapons. No matter what enemy she met, she would clench her fists and fight. The Overlord Fist focused on momentum. As long as the opponent showed any signs of fear or dodging, the rhythm would be immediately controlled by the opponent. Then, little by little, the advantage would be accumulated, and the advantage would be turned into a victory. In the end, it would be unstoppable. But today, when she met Li Chenglong, she met her nemesis. Li Chenglong did not plan to use any techniques from the beginning. He directly used the battle formation and the strategy of the brave winning in a narrow path. Without dodging or evading, it was a strong attack that went straight for the center. Then, there was an extreme situation where the 2 sides attacked each other, using strength to fight strength. As a result, Xiang Bing, a beauty who scored more than 90 points, was beaten up by Li Chenglong until her face was disfigured. This brother Iron did not have any scruples at all. Eyes, nose, face, small mouth, soft breasts, long legs. None of them could escape Li Chenglong's merciless attacks. Swollen's thoughts were simple: I want to win the competition. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I'll take care of you. Even if you're beautiful. You're not going to be my wife. Why should I give in to you? Besides, didn't they say that men and women were equal? Today, I'll be completely equal and treat everyone equally. After this battle, there was a short period of silence. Even the spectator stands were silent for a long time. Everyone was reflecting on the battle just now, and a thoughtful look appeared on their faces. The 6 judges looked at each other. Everyone felt that they had not woken up from the atmosphere of being struck by lightning. This Li Chenglong. His reputation is completely ruined. One of the high martial arts teachers smacked his lips and said regretfully, it's a pity if he doesn't have a future. How about this, our Dragon Soul High Martial Arts special recruit? We can't possibly give up eating because of choking and delay a child. In your dreams. The other teachers roared angrily. Who said that he could not have a ruined reputation? If such a steely straight man was placed in the school, he would definitely shatter the dreams of those girls who had a serious princess syndrome and thought that they should be treated well because they were beautiful. Who said that they did not want him? We need him too much. On the spectator stand, Luo Lai's eyes were wide open. He was dumbstruck as he watched. After a long while, he took a deep breath and shook his head repeatedly. I, Luo Lai, really can't teach such a student. Qin Fangyang is really awesome. Hu Ruoyun also had a look of amazement on her face. It was a marvelous sight. The 3rd round. It's your turn to send out someone first. Zhuo Xiaoduo came out and shouted, that beautiful girl in white, don't come out and get beaten up. I have 4 steely straight men like Li Chenglong on my side. On the other side, the girl in white could not help but take a step back. Her face was filled with fear and she even trembled. Too scary. There were 4 people like that. The vice captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School could not help but be angry. You just believed what the other side said? It was unknown if there were 4 steely men like that in this world. How could they all be on the other side? However, the girl in white was obviously scared before the battle. Her state of mind was already broken. Even if she forced herself to fight, it would be difficult for her to do anything. Looking around, he could only stand up himself. He had to take down another city. Now the winning score was 1-1, and there were still 2 unconscious people on his side. Their morale had been suppressed too badly. Coincidentally, Zhou Xiaoduo on the other side also had the same thought. After a few days of fighting, Yu Moyan's position was basically set in stone. He was definitely a member that would be settled. Long Yusheng and Wanli Xiu were destined to be inseparable. No school would let go of such a good opportunity if they wanted 2 geniuses. Therefore, Long Yusheng and Wanli Xiu were already safe. Today, Li Zhangming's great dream divine technique had shocked everyone. He had already become the focus of attention, so there was no need to worry. Finally, Li Chenglong's name had also shaken the world through the battle just now. He was also in high demand. In this way, his entire team had already been marked in the eyes of the judges and martial arts teachers. Then all that was left was to win. If they only needed to win, it was really easy and not difficult at all. Zhou Xiaoduo laughed out loud and swaggered out of the room. Vice Captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, let me play with you. On the other side, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School's vice captain's face was a bit dark. Among all the people in Phoenix City No. 2 High School, the one he was most afraid of was Zhou Xiaoduo. He knew that he didn't have much chance of winning against Zhou Xiaoduo. But now, what he was afraid of had happened. He directly faced this murderous star. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, Xiang Chong. That Xiang Bing just now is my sister. Xiang Chong narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhou Xiaoduo. Captain Zhou, I wonder what trump card you will use in this battle. Is it the iron fist that made you famous? Or a hidden weapon? Or a leg technique? Zhou Xiaoduo's face suddenly became serious. He narrowed his eyes and said lightly, I don't really understand what you mean. Ha! Iron Fist Prince, in the eyes of a discerning person, is just the most superficial camouflage. In fact, what you are really good at is something else. Xiang Chong's eyes were unprecedentedly sharp. He stared into Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes and smiled. Captain Zhou, I have to say that your strategy is really good. This scheming is even more profound. I admire you. Zhou Xiaoduo's face became gloomy. He said lightly, things have already come to this. Even if you saw through it, what can you do? You will still lose without a doubt. Is that really the case? Xiang Chong laughed and flicked his long robe with his hand. He said coldly, Captain Zhou, don't blame me for not reminding you. The main material of my robe is starlight silk. It is not afraid of your hidden weapon. Zhou Xiaoduo's face became even more unsightly. Is that so? Xiang Chong flipped his hand and a heavenly halberd suddenly appeared in his hand. He held the heavenly halberd with one hand and stood straight. He said lightly, in front of my heavenly halberd, I believe that your fists and legs won't have a chance to get close. Chapter 344. There was a whooshing sound. The sky piercer circled in the air, making a sound that sounded like the wailing of ghosts. A visible vortex formed in the air and then disappeared. Xiang Chong's aura rose sharply. His eyes were full of confidence. He said in a deep voice, Captain Zhou, please. One end of the sky piercer pointed to the sky and the other to the ground. It was shining with a cold light and looked extremely heavy. It was a rare super heavy weapon in this competition. Zhou Xiaoduo's face became more and more serious. Countless people who were paying attention to this battle felt their hearts rise to their throats. Almost everyone had a good impression of Zhou Xiaoduo. However, judging from the current situation, Zhou Xiaoduo was obviously on guard against him. Zhou Xiaoduo was good at all kinds of tricks, but against this vice captain, he really didn't have any advantage. All of them were restrained by his opponent. One must know that his opponent's sky piercer weighed 500 to 600 kilograms. For such a heavy weapon, wouldn't it be just right for Zhou Xiaoduo to restrain him? Everyone was a little worried. Zhou Xiaoduo was in trouble. Looking at Zhou Xiaoduo's face, which was also extremely serious, it was obvious that he also realized that something was wrong. Zhou Xiaoduo's face darkened. He slowly rolled up his trousers and tightly buttoned his sleeves. Then, he tightened his belt, took out a dozen small jade gourds from his pocket, and threw them on the ground. His face became even more gloomy. Everyone could see that. He must have felt that he was not confident. Since the hidden weapons were destined to be useless, it would be a burden to keep them in his pocket. It was better to throw them away as soon as possible. Only a few high martial arts teachers sighed and frowned. You believed him just because he said so. You threw away your hidden weapons just like that. You have the mentality of a coward before the battle. It was a big mistake. Please. Zhou Xiaoduo stretched out his hand. As soon as he spoke, the sound of wind and thunder suddenly came from the opposite side. The sky piercer on the opposite side turned into a silver mountain of halberds, whistling toward him. Countless vortexes formed one after another in the air. The magnificent halberd mountain formed by the sky piercer was mixed with flickering cold light as it rapidly attacked. Zhou Xiaoduo reacted with lightning speed and rapidly retreated. Between the flickering starlight, brilliant sparks scuttled about and blossomed one after another in the air. It was extremely magnificent. However, as Zhou Xiaoduo retreated, the heavenly halberd's momentum increased by another notch. The overlord halberd's aura grew even stronger. Like a silver whirlwind, it chased after the twinkling starlight, rushing all the way. Zhou Xiaoduo let out a long howl and soared into the sky. However, the overlord halberd did not stop. It transformed into a silver dragon and chased after him relentlessly. Zhou Xiaoduo used the starry sky steps and dodged continuously in the air. However, when he realized that he couldn't dodge, he rushed towards the ground with a swoosh. Boom! Zhou Xiaoduo landed on the ground and immediately flew out while sticking close to the ground. He seemed to be at a disadvantage and could only escape. Seeing that his opponent was at a disadvantage, Xiang Chong controlled the sky piercer and rushed down at high speed. He also stuck close to the ground and chased after Zhou Xiaoduo, continuing to put pressure on him. However, the moment he landed, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his wrist. The heavenly halberd in his hand was unprecedentedly heavy, making it difficult for him to hold on. After he failed to hold on, he let out a roar. The heavenly halberd seemed to have lost its sense of direction and flew out of his hand. As it landed, the sky piercer flew towards the judges like a meteor chasing after the moon. Its target was Ding Xiulan. If Xiang Chong had kept his feet on the ground and attacked steadily, Zhou Xiaoduo's move would have been pointless. However, because Zhou Xiaoduo showed weakness at the beginning of the battle and blindly dodged with his movement, the overlord halberd, who emphasized momentum the most, took the opportunity to move and gradually accumulate his momentum. However, because of this continuous pressure, when Zhou Xiaoduo rushed into the sky, Xiang Chong could only chase after him and move away from the ground. Then came the crucial moment. As Xiang Chong leaped into the air to chase after him, his feet were bound to leave the ground. The only place that Xiang Chong's starlight silk clothes could not protect was the soles of his feet. After that, Zhou Xiaoduo landed. He could have landed lightly and continued to wander around, but the moment he landed, he exerted a great force and shook the ground. The true meaning of this was to drive the hidden weapons scattered on the ground. For hidden weapons attacked Xiang Chong from a strange angle, at least from an angle that Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't launch from. Two of the hidden weapons hit the soles of Xiang Chong's feet. Zhou Xiaoduo used a trick to drive the four hidden weapons. In fact, he couldn't exert much power, but what he needed was the right timing. Xiang Chong's soles were attacked. Because he was in mid-air, he was suddenly disturbed. Naturally, he had to stabilize himself first and withdraw the great force he poured into the sky piercer. However, he was in the process of attacking fiercely, so it was difficult for him to withdraw it. And this sudden withdrawal inevitably revealed a flaw. At this moment, the other two hidden weapons hit the flaw exposed by Xiang Chang's sleeves. The web between the thumb and the index finger. Looking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. Chapter 345. That's why the sky piercer flew out of his hand. At this time, as the weapon flew out of his hand, Xiang Chang's first reaction was to follow it. His state of mind was even more flustered. How could he have the time to pay attention to the attack on his feet? As a result, the other two hidden weapons, which originally didn't have much power, displayed their greatest effect. They entered the flesh from the soles of his feet, injuring his meridians. Do you think Xiang Chong immediately jumped up the moment he landed? Did he want to jump? No, it was simply an instinctive reaction from the pain. On the other hand, Zhuoxiaoduo's starry sky steps and dragon gate leg had already turned around. He had anticipated the enemy's movements and attacked with certainty. With a kick to the crotch, he completely crippled all of his combat strength. As for the punch after that, it was actually superfluous. There was no real need for it. Because at that time, victory and defeat were already clear. There was no need for any more movements. After the Hidden Dragon High School teacher's explanation, everyone who didn't understand suddenly felt enlightened. Because this battle was really too fast. Everyone only saw one chasing and one escaping. They rushed up to the sky and then came down. Then, inexplicably, the sky piercer attacked. It inexplicably ended. But at the same time, they also looked at this captain of Phoenix City's No. 2 high school in a new light. This Zhuoxiaoduo's plan was so exquisite. Unexpectedly, every step he took was so unexpected. Yet, it was so logical in his bones. He played with his opponent in the palm of his hand and was extremely happy. In this battle, Xiang Chong didn't lose at all. This Hidden Dragon High School teacher was full of praise. In a battle of martial arts, it's never about who has a higher cultivation base or who has a stronger foundation who will definitely win. In this battle, there are still countless methods, countless openings, and countless traps that can be exploited. As long as they are used well and ingeniously, naturally, the weak can defeat the strong and subdue the enemy to obtain victory. These children of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. To say something that everyone can understand, it's they've experienced two little societies' vicious beatings. These words caused a thoughtful expression to appear on the faces of all the high school teachers. Two little societies' vicious beatings. The future was really worrying. Should he suggest opening another class in the high martial arts school? Is this called being beaten up by society? From the looks of it, this Zhuoxiaoduo could simply become a professor of this course. There were still many people discussing this on the internet. However, this time, everyone was discussing battle tactics. You can do that. The hidden weapon that was thrown at the beginning was actually a trap. He said that there was no need for it. Fuck, if it were me, I would definitely fall for it. Facing an opponent who is an entire major realm higher than him, he dodged twice, rushed up into the air, and then rushed down. Then, he won with a kick to the crotch. Why do I feel that it's so surreal? Child, you've experienced too little social abuse. Bah! You're the one who hasn't been beaten enough. Could it be that Zhuoxiaoduo has experienced more? But he won. Alright, this sentence really made people speechless. You don't care how many beatings he's been through. The reality now is that he's won. If he won, that would be his capital and glory. 3 battles, 2 wins and 1 loss. Zhuoxiaoduo was still standing on the field, unable to get down. Which one of you wants to come up? It's still me for this battle, and it's still me for the next one. The remaining 3 members of Hidden Dragon were all dumbfounded. Aren't you bullying us? You're the captain. Xiao Duo naturally had something to say. In the previous battles, we've always fought one person against one team. This time, it's the same. However, Li Changming and Li Chenglong are too weak. One lost, and the other was seriously injured. However, I'm still fine. Of course, I have to continue fighting. If your captain wakes up and wants to continue fighting, it's fine. It's okay to keep winning. We won't be unhappy even if you defeat all of us. After all, this is the rule. However, the problem is that your captain fainted while snoring, grinding his teeth, and farting. There's really nothing we can do about it. Xiaoduo's tone was very regretful. These beautiful words immediately made the captain of Hidden Dragon, Shimen Daqing, who had just woken up, spit out a mouthful of blood and fainted again. The reality was like this. They could only endure and continue. However, the two youths who came up next after a round of battle, one in front and one in back, they hugged their crotches and were defeated. The internet was completely boiling. Crotch kicking again. Crotch kicking again. Too skilled. So cool. I want to learn. May I ask, where is the Kunlun sect? Same question. I hope the Almighty can give me some pointers. I'm very grateful. This is a unique skill that can save one's life. I must learn it. I must learn it. I must learn it until I'm very familiar with it. I must learn it until I reach the peak of perfection. In the stands. Let's go. The slim figure who was tightly wrapped in the cloak was so angry that her face was ashen. She stood up and turned around to leave. She didn't even look back. She was really angered to death. Master, wait for me. Another figure chased after her. The Battle of the Top 8. Phoenix City's second high school won. Furthermore, they eliminated Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, which had the highest chance of winning. A super dark horse. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that this year, no matter what, the champion would not be Hidden Dragon High School. Hidden Dragon High School had now completely lost the qualification to win the championship. The next step was the top 6. The competition had already ended. The leading teacher of Hidden Dragon High School anxiously led his team to Nanji City. Healing pod. He had to find the highest grade. Also, he had to find an expert to see if he could heal Shimen Daqing's soul. If it couldn't be healed, then it would be difficult to maintain the top 3. Although there was no difference in the benefits of being ranked 2nd to 9th, their reputation would be ruined. If they suddenly fell out of the top 3, then they would really be done for. This time, coming to the competition, I've really seen a ghost. On this day, the top 6 were decided. Phoenix City's 2nd high school, Water City's 1st high school, Yanglua's 1st high school, Fenghai's 3rd high school, Phoenix Tail's 1st high school, and Song Mountain's 1st high school. There was really no Hidden Dragon High School. Hidden Dragon High School, which had dominated the championship for many years, had a super big news this time. They actually didn't enter the top 6. This news made everyone's jaws drop, but after thinking about it carefully, they felt that it was reasonable. Hidden Dragon High School first encountered Water City 1st High School, and only won a Pyrrhic victory after all their members were severely injured. Then, they encountered Garrison Store 1st High School, and were ruthlessly fought by the other party. They were still full of injured soldiers, and most of them were severely injured. Then, they encountered Phoenix City's 2nd High School, and accidents happened again and again. First, the team leader encountered the successor of the Dream Divine Technique, who had not appeared in the world for a long time. Although he was lucky enough to win the match, his soul was injured. Not only was he unable to continue the match, but he was also absent from the subsequent matches. Originally, the vice-team leader, Xiang Chong, and his sister, Xiang Bing, were both experts in the embryonic breathing realm. Moreover, they were talents in actual combat, so Hidden Dragon High School had considerable strength. But first, Xiang Bing was disfigured by a certain steel-like man from Phoenix City's second high school, and she was utterly defeated. Then, Xiang Chong was crushed by Zhou Xiaoduo's schemes, and his vital parts were kicked. He was defeated, especially when he was kicked in the crotch. In the next 2 matches, 2 of them were also defeated by Zhou Xiaoduo in the same way, by kicking in the crotch. Zhou Xiaoduo didn't kill him in this position. Although it wasn't fatal, it wasn't crippling, and it wouldn't cause internal injuries, but it was really painful, and it really affected his performance. Moreover, after he recovered and didn't feel anything, he had to habitually walk for a long time. This also led to them encountering Shui City No. 1 Middle School, which they had already fought once. They were almost swept away, and all of them were defeated. Especially Xiang Bing, this valiant beauty, was beaten by Li Chenglong to the point that she was traumatized, and she didn't dare to go on stage. She was even afraid to go on stage, so how could she not be defeated? Hidden Dragon High School's dismal ending made countless high school teachers feel satisfied, but they also had mixed feelings and couldn't put their thoughts to words. It was probably because the words of the teacher from the Hidden Dragon High School were too reasonable. These students had too little experience of being beaten up by society. Many high school teachers with ideas were thinking about this sentence. It was indeed too little. They were too well protected. If they didn't encounter a similar experience, if they really went to the battlefield, or if they really went to the Jianghu, they would just stretch out their necks and be slaughtered. Those old foxes, those mortal enemies, which one of them would show mercy just because you were a genius? They would only kill with extreme pleasure. Vicious beating. It's imperative. The high school teachers all had such thoughts in their minds. Why do the old people always say that to suffer a loss is to gain an advantage? This sentence is a famous saying when it comes to martial artists. If you suffer a loss, as long as you don't die, you really gain a big advantage. Because you won't suffer the same loss again. And too many people will pay with their lives if they suffer such a loss. In the previous Dragon and Tiger Roll competition, everyone had fought according to the rules. They had brought out as much strength as they could. It was probably because everyone followed the rules and did things according to the rules, so they didn't feel that there was any problem. However, in this year's batch, the students of Phoenix City No. 2 High School, especially Zhou Xiaoduo, suddenly made everyone feel that the previous way couldn't work. All of them were as pure as Bai Hua. In the future, they could only wait to suffer losses. Based on the principle of thinking for the students, everyone began to think seriously. The top 6 drew lots: Phoenix City No. 2 High School against Yangluo No. 1 High School. Water City No. 1 High School against Fenghai No. 3 High School. Phoenix Tail No. 1 High School against Songshan No. 1 High School. For Phoenix Tail No. 1 High School and Songshan No. 1 High School, such a draw result was almost equivalent to picking up a bargain. Originally, the highest record of these two teams was only in the top 8. Moreover, it was not stable. Often, they would be in the top 8 this year and be kicked out of the top 10 next year. But this time, it was too smooth. Not only did they enter the top 6 in one go, but they also had the possibility of going further. It was really a big pie that fell from the sky. Every time they drew lots, it was almost a battle between the strong, and their combat strength was basically exhausted. This time, the top 6 drew lots again. Naturally, they didn't know Zhu's ability. They only felt that they were too lucky. Perhaps they could win the championship. In this round of the top 6, the main purpose was to determine the top 4. The winners of the 3 groups would directly enter the top 4. The losers would draw lots again. One would have a bye, 2 would fight, and the winner would fight with the one who had a bye. And the final winner would obtain the last seat in the top 4. After that, the top 4 matches would be simple. The winners would fight for the first and second place, and the losers would fight for the third place. In other words, this year's Longhu List competition was nearing its end. That afternoon, Phoenix City No. 2 High School and Yangluo No. 1 High School were fighting. And Luoyang No. 1 High School had Zhuo Xiaoduo, who had a high opinion of the tall girl from the beginning to the end. However, he didn't know that although Lan Bingrui's expression was still cold, she was so shocked that she almost cried out in surprise. In Yangluo No. 1 High School, she was a great genius who dominated the entire city. Looking at the past few hundred years, there was no one in Yangluo City who could achieve what she had. In this Dragon and Tiger List tournament, there was no student who could catch her eye, including the team leader of No. 1 High School of Hidden Dragon, Shimen Daqing, whose cultivation had reached the high level of the embryonic breathing realm and was half a step to the primordial elixir realm. If they really fought, she could definitely take him down within 50 moves. The rest were even more mediocre and couldn't reach the apex. This was Lan Bingrui's confidence. However, when she really faced Zhuo Xiaoduo, through these few exchanges, she could acutely feel that this Zhuo Xiaoduo's foundation was actually more profound than hers. No, it should be far more profound than hers. This was because he was only at the innate realm now. He was obviously a realm lower than her, but he could still be on par with her in terms of strength. If this wasn't a huge difference in foundation, what else could it be? In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than 30 moves. Both of them didn't use any weapons and only fought with their fists and feet. In close combat, there was another muffled bang. Both of their legs kicked each other firmly again, and they retreated at the same time again. However, as Zhuo Xiaoduo retreated this time, he threw out 3 small gourds, which flew out like lightning. Lan Bingrui was in mid-air and had to bear the aftermath of the impact from both sides. She definitely couldn't dodge all of them. According to Zhuo Xiaoduo's estimation, she could only dodge 2 at most. No matter what, she would be hit by at least 1. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo was thinking too much. She didn't dodge at all, so all 3 hidden weapons hit her. However, when the hidden weapons hit Lan Bingrui's body, they were completely useless. Her snow-white clothes didn't even have any reaction, and the small gourds had already shattered. Your clothes are really not bad. Zhuo Xiaoduo praised sincerely, but his heart was filled with helplessness. It seemed like hidden weapons really couldn't be used in this round. This wasn't a life-and-death battle. He couldn't possibly blind this girl, right? However, there was obviously something fishy about the clothes, and it was completely useless. Lan Bingrui said faintly, "Don't waste your time. Hidden weapons are useless against me. It's useless to hit my face or hit my hands anywhere. My galaxy clothes have an automatic defensive ability." "You're really rich." Zhuo Xiaoduo grinned. The galaxy clothes were said to be woven with a kind of strange metal mixed with the galaxy cloud soul. This kind of clothes was not only impenetrable by weapons, water, and fire, but also could store true core force. If there was a sufficiently high-level expert who injected his true inner force into the clothes could theoretically absorb an unlimited amount of true inner force. And all the absorbed true inner force would be converted into defensive power. In this way, no matter what kind of sudden attack, the galaxy clothes could automatically sense the impact of the attack and protect the owner. It was truly a priceless treasure. Ordinary ancient martial arts families might not even have heard of it, let alone own it. It seemed that Lan Bingrui's family background was extraordinarily good. Zhuo Xiaoduo has met his match. Ding Xiulan's face was solemn. "I'm afraid this match is really going to be difficult." Ma Zhangxi also kept shaking his head. "This kid is really unlucky to have met this girl from the Lan family. This girl is not simple. She has been very low-key all the way and almost didn't fight. However, she also has a lot of gadgets on her. Zhuo Xiaoduo might not be able to defeat her." The teacher from Hidden Dragon Martial Arts High School said faintly, "In the end, he's just taking advantage of his family background. If Suo Xiaoduo had the same family background, he would definitely be more outstanding than this Lan girl. Everyone nodded silently. For ordinary people or geniuses in the ordinary sense, Lan Bingrui could easily crush them without using her family background. However, for geniuses of the same level, the addition of family background was enough to create a huge gap. Hidden weapons are destined to be useless. Palm techniques, leg techniques, and footwork are also known to the opponent. The chances of winning this match are slim. Ding Xiulan was a little worried. Suo Xiaoduo has made it this far. Even if he loses, it's not considered a loss. Ma Zhengxi said softly. On the spectator stand, the person in the cloak smiled gently and gritted his teeth. Finally, someone can teach this little bastard a lesson. These few days, I've been so angry that my stomach hurts. Another person said softly, it's hard to say now. You don't know what kind of enemies Xiao Duo has faced and where his real combat power has gone. The person who spoke was Su Xiaonian. She knew her brother's ability very well. If it wasn't for Zhuo Xiaoduo not wanting to expose himself, it would only be a matter of minutes to smash this girl into meat paste. With this level of ability, you dare to be arrogant in front of my dog. Humph. Why are you so tall? Humph. However, she also knew that Zhuo Xiaoduo would definitely not expose himself in this kind of situation. Then, if they wanted to win, there was only one way left. Teacher, it seems that you know the background of this girl? Zhuo Xiaonian asked. She's the last disciple of my junior master. Mu Yanyan said softly, according to seniority, you have to call her junior master. Then why is she so useless? With this level of ability. Zhuo Xiaonian was very disdainful. At this moment, Nian Mao's eyes were full of disdain. Mu Yanyan. This sentence was a little heart-wrenching and a little speechless. However, thinking about it, Zhuo Xiaonian was indeed qualified to say this. Looking at the practitioners of the same age, Zhuo Xiaonian could really be said to be invincible in this world. Bang, bang, bang. In the field, the two of them moved like rabbits and swooped down like hawks. They continuously exchanged more than 200 moves, and the sound of vital qi colliding and exploding was constantly heard. Let's end this. Lan Bingrui floated back and pulled out a long sword with a clang. Like a stream of light, she held it in front of her chest. Zhuo Xiaoduo, you're no match for me. Admit defeat. Zhuo Xiaoduo was shocked and said, you actually used a weapon. Humph, relying on a weapon to help in the battle, it's an unfair victory. Lan Bingrui said, in a martial arts battle, of course, I'll use everything. What's wrong with that? Zhuo Xiaoduo was not convinced and said, in this case, I'll also use a weapon. My sword is also very powerful. Lan Bingrui frowned. So what if you use a weapon? It's not shameful to admit defeat when you're not as strong as others. Zhuo Xiaoduo, why are you struggling? I asked you to admit defeat because my sword is too fierce and sharp. I'm afraid that I'll hurt you by accident. After all, we're all Taoists, and you're a junior. It's not shameful for you to lose to me. Zhuo Xiaoduo said with a smile, then why don't you admit defeat? It's not shameful for you to lose to me. Chapter 347. Zhuo Xiaoduo laughed. In fact, what you said is exactly what I wanted to say. I just don't know whether you believe it or not. He made a grabbing motion in the air, and a sword appeared out of thin air with a cracking sound. The sword light was as clear as water and as thin as a cicada's wing. Since you're the one who made the first move, I won't hold back. Since we share the same origin, I'll definitely give you some face. Sword. 2 swords. And they were 2 peerless godly weapons, shining here. All the referees, including Lan Bingrui's teacher in charge, were stunned. Everyone had the same thought, these 2 people are really cunning. Lan Bingrui had never used any weapon before. Coincidentally, Zhuo Xiao duo was the same. But now, the two people took out their swords one after another, and the swords they took out were both peerless godly weapons. How could people not think about the implication of this? Several referees shook their heads and smiled bitterly. Ding Xiulan's face changed, and her mouth twitched. After being speechless for a long time, she murmured, "The old scoundrel met the old scoundrel. Even I was wrong. Zhuo Xiaoduo's family background is not simple. It must be very powerful." The other teachers shook their heads and smiled bitterly. "You are not the only one. Didn't we all make a mistake? Who would have thought that the so-called Iron Fist young master would take out a hidden weapon as his trump card? After the hidden weapon, he said that his body movement and footwork were his trump cards. And now, he was forced to take out a sword. It was totally speechless. The sword light suddenly flashed, and the two people attacked at the same time. Their attacks were totally different from before. It was like two new people were performing sword skills. The audience behind the two of them felt that something was amiss. The audience behind Zhuo Xiao duo facing Lan Bingrui only felt that they were facing an extremely cold snow mountain. The snow was falling, and it was bone-chilling. Countless mysterious ice shone in the sunlight, shining and dazzling. As for the audience behind Lan Bingrui facing Zhuo Xiao duo, they only felt a drizzle blowing against their faces. It was as if they were taking a stroll in the rain, full of warmth, gentleness, and comfort. It was indescribably comfortable. This kind of artistic conception was simply intoxicating. Although the snow and ice of Lan Bingrui were wild and the snow-capped mountains were high, they were melted little by Zhuo Xiaoduo's misty rain. The process was slow, but it was very real and real. In this round of sword skill competition, Zhuo Xiaoduo actually had the upper hand, and the signs of him having the upper hand were gradually becoming more and more obvious. This result shocked everyone who was watching the battle. What kind of freak is this child? Ding Xiulan was so shocked that she couldn't close her mouth. Lan Bingrui was a little impatient. She tried 3 different sword techniques, but the sword in front of her was soft and light. Her sword technique was like the fine rain in spring. It was completely useless. It was as if there was no end to it, and it kept suppressing her sword technique. Lan Bingrui let out a long howl. She was finally enraged and shouted, "If that's the case, then come." Suddenly, a white aura surged on her face. Her whole body was covered in white mist. In just a moment, everyone in the arena felt a chill. The temperature actually dropped to below freezing point. In less than 10 breaths of time, a layer of dense white ice had appeared on the stage. This is the mysterious Yin technique. A few high school teachers stood up at the same time and looked at the arena in shock. This little princess of the Lan family had actually cultivated the mysterious Yin technique. Moreover, she had already achieved some success. She had already cultivated it to a higher level. This achievement was really no small matter. Shang Jing's Yunduanhai Martial Arts School wants this little girl from the Lan family. The teacher from Shang Jing's Yunduanhai Martial Arts School stared at Lan Bingrui, who had already gained control of the entire arena, with an unconcealed fondness. This kind of genius was really suitable for Yunduanhai Martial Arts School. Who do you think you are? You think you are? The teacher from Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts School snorted and glared at him with an unfriendly gaze. The teacher from Yunduanhai Martial Arts School said indifferently, "Since you have withdrawn from the competition, you are naturally ours. However, we will return the favor with a gift. As long as you agree, we will not fight with you for the remaining geniuses, such as Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhou Yunqing." Ding Xiulan narrowed her eyes. The teacher from Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts School also had a change in expression. Both of them asked at the same time, "A gentleman keeps his word. A man keeps his word." The teacher from Yunduanhai Martial Arts School said indifferently, "A man keeps his word. What's there to doubt? All right, it's settled then." Both of them agreed at the same time, as if they were afraid that the other party would go back on his word. At this moment, the temperature in the arena dropped even lower. The temperature in the arena had already dropped to below zero. It was just that it had dropped to a few dozen degrees below zero. Lan Bingrue was still continuously activating the mysterious Yin technique. Her long sword fluttered and attacked aggressively, suppressing Zhou Xiaoduo. With a sword in one hand and a palm in the other, she flew horizontally and vertically, like a fairy flying in a world of ice and snow, exuding an icy aura. At this moment, even the edges of the arena began to be covered with icicles. Higher up, the heat of the natural weather clashed with it. From time to time, a mist would rise and dissipate. Zhou Xiaoduo, who was the focal point of the cold attack, was already covered with frost. Even his eyebrows and hair were dyed white. However, the sword in his hand did not relax at all. He was still counterattacking with every move. He was actually stable from beginning to end and did not give an inch. The outcome has been decided. Zhou Xiaoduo is bound to lose. Ding Xiulan looked at Zhou Xiaoduo tenaciously fighting in the arena with heartache. She shook her head and said disappointedly, "This battle is not the fault of the battle, it is not the fault of the battle." The teacher from Hidden Dragon High School also sighed deeply. This battle of geniuses is lost because of the family background, not because of the individual. If Zhou Xiaoduo had a set of matching martial arts, the battle would not be so one-sided. Sigh. Zhou Xiaoduo lost this battle unjustly. A clear and long cry sounded in the arena again. Lan Bingrue's slim and tall body flew up into the sky. Her long sword suddenly emitted 9 white icy sword auras. Her right palm pushed and pulled back, and then suddenly pushed out. A storm of ice and snow was formed, falling from the sky, and the target was Zhou Xiaoduo. The wind from the palm tore the air, making a sharp whistle. A murderous aura, biting cold, almost formed. Murderous intent. This is the mysterious Yin Ice Soul Palm. Ding Xiulan was shocked. The other referees also stood up abruptly, ready to help at any time. This palm was powerful and tyrannical, and its killing intent had already been established. If Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't withstand it, he would be frozen into a popsicle along with his soul. The mysterious Yin Ice Soul Palm was a tyrannical killing move that wreaked havoc in the world. Too many people knew the terrifying and insidious level of this palm technique. As long as Zhou Xiaoduo showed signs of being unable to withstand it, the judges would help. They definitely wouldn't watch a peerless genius like Zhou Xiaoduo die like this. At this moment, Lan Bingrue, who was in the air, had a trace of regret in her eyes, but then she became determined again. Zhou Xiaoduo's tenacity had greatly exceeded her expectations. If she did not use this trump card, she would not be able to defeat this guy in front of her. She had no choice but to push the battle to this extreme. As long as you withdraw and admit defeat, you can save your life. But if you insist on being brave, you will die. You can only blame yourself for not knowing the situation. I will not hold back this time. So what if I kill you? Right at this critical moment, an unexpected event occurred abruptly, and it caused everyone to be astounded. Because, in the area covered by the ice and snow, an explosive and furious roar suddenly appeared, piercing through the clouds and splitting rocks, shocking the heavens. At the same time, a ball of fiery red suddenly rose from the middle of the ice and snow. Zhou Xiaoduo's voice was heard, speaking in an eerie tone. Fiery sun. Zhou Xiaoduo was furious. Killing intent. I have been merciful all this time. You want to kill me? In an instant, the fiery Sun Sutra reached its breaking point in his fury. Under everyone's gaze, a ball of dazzling fiery red suddenly appeared in the ice and snow field, exploding, bursting, exploding. Then, it rose up and turned into a blazing sun that was close at hand. Zhou Xiaoduo held a sharp sword in his hand, and his whole body soared into the sky like a rising sun. The power of the sun melted and burned the ice and snow in the sky in an instant, and his whole body was surrounded by rolling heat waves. The sharp sword in his hand turned into a drizzle, and the drizzle turned into a violent storm, sweeping across the sky and earth, and drowning Lan Bingrue's sword light. At the same time, Zhou Xiaoduo's left palm, which was like a furnace soaring into the sky, collided with Lan Bingrue's mysterious Yin Ice Soul palm without dodging. The fiery Sun Sutra of extreme yang, extreme heat, and extreme heat suddenly erupted, facing the mysterious Yin Ice Soul palm head-on. Boom! With a blood-curdling scream, Lan Bingrue was sent flying along with her sword. She flew more than 200 meters like a kite with a broken string. Her beautiful hair was completely roasted in the process of flying back. A white shadow soared into the sky like lightning, and caught Lan Bingrue in his hand. His fingers were like phantoms, and he hit all the major acupoints on Lan Bingrue's body one after another. Then, he poured several elixirs and 2 bottles of potions into her body. The white shadow didn't land on the ground after saving her, but stopped in the air, holding the unconscious Lan Bingrue. He turned his head to look at Zhou Xiaoduo in the field, and said lightly, "The fiery Sun Sutra has reappeared in the world. Not bad, not bad. You are a talent. In the future, Rue will come to you again." It was a woman's voice. Then, she said lightly, "Lan Bingrue's internal qi has reversed, and her injury is very serious. She can't be cured here. I will take her back now. Sorry for delaying the rest of the competition." Before he finished speaking, his entire body soared into the sky. Following a flash of sword light, he had already sped into the horizon and disappeared without a trace. The whole field was still steaming hot and misty. Zhou Xiaoduo quietly landed on the ground, gasping for breath. His face was flushed, and it was obvious that the operation just now had consumed a lot of energy. But for Zhou Xiaoduo, this consumption was not a problem. What really shocked him was something else. He couldn't help but raise his head and look in the direction where the woman left. At that moment, when the woman had just appeared, Zhou Xiaoduo had clearly felt an unprecedentedly sharp murderous aura enveloping his entire body. That woman just now, she also wanted to kill me. But she didn't because of the environment. Why? If I don't fight with such a legendary genius, I'm afraid I'll be beaten to death by the school's leaders when I get back. However, the words that came out of his mouth were like water that had been spilled. Teacher Chui's face was flushed red. His face and neck were red as he argued, I said that I won't fight with you. I said that I won't fight with you. Even though I'm fucking right. I said that I won't fight with you. Of course, I'm a man of my words. But just now, the principal called and said that we'll fight for him. The principal has spoken. What's the use of my words? Teacher Chui acted shamelessly on the spot. He even threw a tantrum. His mature and dignified appearance from before was completely gone. Ding Xiulan and the teacher from Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts School scolded in unison, shameless. Cui Shangyan, you're a teacher from Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts School. How dare you go back on your words? You said that you're a man of your words. Now, you're treating your words like farts. It stinks. Teacher Chui's face was red as he said, "It's our principal who said that. Our principal said that we'll fight for him. Your principal's face is being used by you for this." Ding Xiulan snorted. Then, she took out a phone and pressed on it with her hand. Teacher Cui Shangyan's voice could be heard clearly from the phone. "Our high martial arts school wants this Lan Bingrue. As a condition, that Zhou Xiaoduo, Zhou Yunqing won't fight with you." Cui Shangyan's face was pale as if he had seen a ghost. You actually recorded it? Ding Xiulan's face was full of disdain. Who in the martial arts world doesn't know what kind of morals you high martial arts school have? If I didn't guard against you guys, wouldn't I have lived for so long in vain? Listen carefully, Cui Shangyan, you better listen carefully. This promise is made by you on behalf of High Martial Arts School. Listen carefully. Yes, our High Martial Arts School. May I ask what these words mean? Even if your principal really came, would he be able to change this fact? Ding Xilan was in high spirits. In this matter, your High Martial Arts School is out. Yes. Your High Martial Arts School is out. The teacher from Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts School was in high spirits. Fuck, women are so scheming. This time, I'm lucky that I'm with a woman. Otherwise, this Chui guy would really blame me. Chui Shengyan flew into a rage and directly shed all pretense of cordiality. Was a talent more important than face? There was no need to talk about this. Even if my reputation is ruined, I'll still take this person for myself. This is an all-round talent in martial arts, and he's even mastered the Flaming Sun manual. You guys want to force me out with just a few words? You've all gone crazy thinking about it. Shameless. Shameless. You're insane. Ding Xilan scolded. I'll announce it on the internet right now and spread it all over the world. Chui Shengyan, I'll let you stink for 3 lifetimes. Even if I stink for 10 lifetimes, I'll still take him. Chui Shengyan had nothing to lose and was completely shameless. However, he felt relaxed instead, as if he had broken through some kind of shackle, and said angrily, I'll go back on my words. So what? My words are like farts, what can you do about it? All the teachers, including Ding Xilan, were speechless. Fuck. The teacher from Hidden Dragon High School muttered angrily, I've helped you break through your limits. This ability to speak like farts. Zhou Xiaoduo had just opened his eyes when all the teachers around him swarmed over and locked their gazes on him. Just as Chui Shengyan had said, in terms of ability, he was all-round in martial arts, and hidden weapons. He also had the ability to see the big picture, organize, strategize, and set up a situation. He lacked nothing. In terms of personality, he had a righteous heart, respected his teachers, and was not pedantic at all. He was flexible and quick-witted. This kind of student was an all-rounder that one could only dream of. What's more, he had mastered the legendary Flaming Sun manual. It had even elevated him to the level of a peerless monster. Not taking him in. Give up. What a joke. Even if they couldn't beat the big 3, they still had to fight for him. They had to fight for him. Otherwise, when the principal saw the video, he would say, fuck, not being able to beat the big 3 is one reason, but you didn't even fight for such a genius. That's a sin. Who knows, he might be related to our high school. Who knows, he might have thought of coming to our school. You didn't even let out a fart. Even if he wanted to come, he wouldn't have that direction. That would be terrible. Zhou Xiaoduo, you brat. Ha 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 ha, you're quite sinister, but I like it. Ding Xilan first laughed loudly, then said affectionately, you child, why are you so scheming? Ha, you're really lovable. Not bad at all. The teacher from Hidden Dragon High School laughed, this is the first time I, Zhan Xiaofei, have met such a suitable student like you. He laughed heartily and said to the teachers with a sigh, back then, there was an expert who told my fortune. He said that my name, Zhan Xiaofei, although it didn't seem very impressive, it had the ability to protect students. If one day, he met a student whose second character was also Xiao, then this student would spread his wings and soar into the sky. That's why I'm called Zhan Xiaofei. Now, it seems that I've found it. He sighed and said, this is all destined. That old immortal, a true god, said it. It was too accurate. Zhan Xiaofei, you fucking bastard. 7 or 8 teachers roared together. How could he make up a story on the spot? He actually said, the second character in his name is Xiao. Could he have made it more obvious? Ha ha ha. Zhan Xiaofei is really shameless. Teacher Cui Shangyan laughed loudly and said to Zhuo Xiaoduo enthusiastically, "Student Zhuo Xiaoduo, I'm the #1 teacher from Yunduan High School in the 3 big schools. My name is..." "You're not a bastard." The other teachers roared together, "Get lost." Cui Shangyan acted as if he didn't hear anything, his expression didn't change. "My name is Cui Shangyan. Compared to Zhuo Xiaoduo's future, I don't care about this face of mine. As long as Xiaoduo enters our Yunduan High School, everything is worth it. I can give up anything." The anxiety in Zhuo Xiaoduo's heart gradually calmed down. "So they're not here to pursue the matter of me lying. I seem to have said before that the Dragon Gate kick was my trump card. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but feel relieved. He scratched his head and said carefully, "Teacher, the competition isn't over yet. 4th update, did you feel good today? Could you please vote for me?" Chapter 349. You have 3 wins and 1 draw. You have already won. Why are you still fighting? There's no need to continue. Ding Xiulan smiled kindly. The more she looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo, the more she liked him. She said, "Xiaoduo, you don't have a girlfriend yet, right? Are you 17 or 18 this year? Let me tell you, our ancestral Dragon High School is full of beauties. Which school doesn't have a bunch of beauties?" Outside, Mr. Ma Zhangxi looked up at the sky with his long face and said lightly. Ding Xiulan glared at him. When she was about to continue, she heard sarcastic remarks again. The one who spoke was still Ma Zhangxi. He looked up at the sky and said, with Zhuo Xiaoduo's looks, how could he lack beauties? Ha! Ma Zhangxi. Ding Xiulan was furious. What nonsense are you spouting? Is it your Huayang High School's turn to be presumptuous here? Ma Zhangxi still looked up at the sky. He was slightly disappointed, but his tone was still light. Huayang High School is not one of the top 3 schools, but I can guarantee that we can have 3 wives and 4 concubines. From now on, I, old Ma, will become a pimp. Bang! Ding Xiulan couldn't take it anymore. She kicked Ma Zhangxi and flew out. Then, she jumped up and hit him again. Who couldn't understand Ma Zhangxi's words? Huayang High School was not a genius like him. Ma Zhangxi was well aware of that. His words were so explicit. He was basically mocking Ding Xiulan for being a pimp. She was old. What? How could Ding Xiulan not be furious? Did I give you face? Sarcastic remarks after sarcastic remarks directed at me. Wasn't it just because I tore your love letter and beat you up back then? Do you have to remember it until now? That afternoon, on the way back to the hotel, Zhuo Xiaoduo and the others were accompanied by many teachers from Huayang High School. After that, they went to meet them during lunchtime. At night, they would meet a few of them who would drop by. As for Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai, they had become the most sought-after people. Zhuo Xiaoduo is a child who respects his teacher. He is righteous, honest, and has a beautiful chest. A student like him would definitely respect his teacher. I believe that it would be better if his teacher spoke a few words for him. This was the common thought of all the teachers in the high school. Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai received gifts the entire night. If they were to take them out, the room would not be able to hold them all. No matter how much he said he didn't want it, the other party still kept stuffing it into his hands. It was just a token of his sincerity. It wasn't enough to show his respect. He had to accept it. If he didn't accept it, he wouldn't be giving face. Li Chenglong and the others also basked in the limelight. Every martial arts teacher who came over would ask about the little guy's cultivation with great concern, and then casually give them some pointers that he wanted to show that he was kind and amiable, an excellent teacher who was easy to get close to and did not put on airs. What's more, Luo Yenling directly sent the admission letter to Yu Moyan. Furthermore, there were promises and all kinds of promises. The strength of the promise was far greater than expected. Li Zhongming also received the admission letter from Dragon Soul High School, and also a bunch of promises. Originally, these could not be considered important. Li Changming's battle with Shiman Daqing had already become a hot topic. Naturally, many martial arts schools had the idea of recruiting him. However, the Dragon Soul Martial Arts School had an old teacher of virtue and prestige. He himself also cultivated the Great Dream Divine Technique that year. When this teacher made a move, he made the 30,000 soldiers of the No Alliance fall asleep, lying on the ground and waiting to be slaughtered. It could be said that this was a legendary killing machine. Unfortunately, there was a way to break it. After that, the great senior of the No Alliance personally made a move. He hid in the army and pretended to be in a dream. Then, his spiritual power suddenly exploded. With a much stronger spiritual power, he broke the foundation of the Great Dream Divine Technique. That was why this teacher returned to the Dragon Soul sect. Today, when he heard that a successor of the Great Dream Divine Technique had appeared in the Dragon and Tiger ranking tournament, the old man almost ran over that night. Then, he gave a death order: if you don't bring this student back, the few of you who went to be the judges, don't come back. If this old man loses such a successor, there's no meaning in living anymore. I might as well die and die. When the teachers of Dragon Soul High School received the news, they were almost scared to death. They ran over and almost swore to do Li Zhongming's job. In the end, it was Hu Ruoyun who helped Li Zhongming make the decision: Li Zhongming, go to Dragon Soul High School. This matter was settled. Yes, just this matter. Hu Ruoyun's spatial ring was filled up because of this, following in the footsteps of Zhou Xiaoduo. 2 sleeves of gold wind, and the quality was not inferior by much. There were also many famous schools that looked for Long Yusheng, but Long Yusheng only said one sentence: wherever Xiao Er goes, I will go. Everyone understood this point. After all, a long-distance relationship could easily lead to a tragedy. However, Wan Li Xiu was not so easy to decide. After all, she came from a huge family with a deep background, and she still had to listen to her family's opinion. It was probably because of this layer of relationship that several schools threw over 2 acceptance letters. Wherever you want to go, you can choose from them. As for Li Chenglong, his choice of school was more interesting. It could be simply summed up in one sentence: if possible, I will go wherever Zhuo goes. With his swollen qualifications and his profound knowledge, even the 3 famous schools would be happy to accept him. It could be said that almost no high school would reject him. The so-called Iron Straight Man and so on, not only was it not a minus point, but it was also a big plus point. However, he expressed his intention to follow Zhou Xiaoduo, which caused some twists and turns in his future path. This was because while Zhou Xiaoduo became popular, it also became a compromise between the high schools. It was basically impossible for a school to accept both Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Chenglong at the same time. Once this was done, it would definitely cause a lot of dissatisfaction from the other schools. For this reason, Hu Ruoyun specially looked for Li Chenglong to have a deep talk. She even told him the original words of the old principle: everyone should be the main character in their respective roles. Everyone should go and seize their own destiny. Don't gather together. However, Li Chenglong turned a deaf ear to all of this and did not care at all. Teacher Hu, you also know that my strength is not in my martial strength, but more in my own encyclopedic knowledge and photographic memory. And all of this, from a certain point of view, is a support. My best position is definitely not to charge and break through enemy lines, but to support. Even though my body will continue to grow stronger, I will never become a candidate for Commander-in-Chief. My position will only fall on the side of the Commander-in-Chief. Strategists, aides, and so on. Giving advice and suggestions is where I can display my abilities the most. Following Zhua, I don't have to think about anything. Li Chenglong said, all the strategic decisions and general direction will be made by him, and I will be in charge of the details, deductions, arrangements, planning. All of this. I am not a talented commander, nor am I a talented general, and I will definitely not be the vanguard. I have always been very clear about my position. Therefore, between me and Zhua, there is no need for any underlings, and there is also no problem of my destiny being seized. Li Chenglong appeared to be abnormally clear-headed. This is my position in life. This will never change, and it will never change. There was one thing that Swollen did not say. It was that Zhua Xiaoduo's Flaming Sun Sutra was of great benefit to Li Chenglong. Even if it was just practicing by Zhua Xiaoduo's side, Swollen could still improve by leaps and bounds. You want me to quit being Zhua's underling? Even if a god came, it would be impossible. I'm definitely hugging this thigh. Hu Ruoyun also felt a lot of emotions after hearing Li Chenglong's long-winded speech. Since Li Chenglong had already made up his mind, his position was clear, and he had reason and evidence. Hu Ruoyun did not say anything more, but she felt a little strange in her heart. This world-famous Brother Steel actually said that he was actually just a support and wanted to be the man besides Zhua Xiaoduo. Why did this make people feel strange when they heard it? That the top 4 had been smoothly decided. Phoenix City 2nd High, Water City 1st High, Fenghai 3rd High, and Phoenix Tail 1st High. Yang Luo 1st High, who was ranked 2nd on the hot list to win the championship, actually did not lose much of their true strength after the battle with Phoenix City 2nd High. However, their trump card, Lan Bingrui, was gone, and they lost their strongest combat power. This was the main reason why they swept out of the top 4. Although Fenghai 3rd High lost to Water City 1st High, they drew lots to face Yang Luo 1st High again and won. In the end, it was still Phoenix Tail against Sangshan. After another round, Phoenix Tail 1st High still won. At this point, Phoenix Tail 1st High successfully entered the top 4 and created a historical ranking for their school. The higher-ups and students of Phoenix Tail 1st High knew very well that their school was already at its limit. It was destined to be impossible for them to take another step forward. The defeated Sangshan 1st High still needed to fight with Yang Luo 1st High to determine the 5th and 6th rankings. However, no one cared about that anymore. The top 4 drew lots. Phoenix City 2nd High against Fenghai 3rd High. Water City 1st High against Phoenix Tail 1st High. Half a morning later, the 2 battles were over. Phoenix City 2nd High and Water City 1st High won one after another. The champion and runner-up would be between the 2 teams. The 3rd place would be between Fenghai 3rd High and Phoenix Tail 1st High. Phoenix Tail 1st High realized that the situation that was beneficial to them did not appear and could not help but be disappointed. It was probably because no one had suffered much damage in the semifinals. The scene of Phoenix City 2nd High beating up Fenghai 3rd High did not appear, nor did they cripple Fenghai 3rd High. In this way, they would be facing a complete Fenghai 3rd High school. The 2 sides were not on the same level at all. How could they not be disappointed? However, Phoenix Tail 1st High was satisfied after picking up all the advantages along the way. There was no need for the students to go up and lose face again and be beaten up. Therefore, after the school's higher-ups discussed it, they made a joint decision, admit defeat and give up on the last round of the competition. Therefore, the 3rd place of this year's Longhu list was released first. Furthermore, it was released 3 days earlier than the champion and runner-up. This matter was also a historical precedent. This made everyone feel disappointed and frustrated. Fortunately, there was still the battle between the champion and runner-up to watch, so it was not too disappointing. Chapter 350. Everyone was looking forward to the Battle of the Champions 3 days later, which was the 5th of September. Yes, that's right, it was the 5th of September. The competition started on the 18th, and it had been 15 days since then. This date had been set long ago. The 5th of September would be the finals of the champions and runners-up. The winner would be crowned as the emperor. Only the Central Plains had the right to hold the finals on the 5th of September. No other regions could do it. Not even the martial arts competition in Shangjing could. Since ancient times, there was a saying that established the transcendent status of the Central Plains. Fight for the throne in the Central Plains. Only by winning the battle for the throne in the Central Plains could one become the emperor. In other regions, they weren't qualified and didn't count. Only the last competition was left. 3 more days. After getting 3 days of rest, the 6 from Phoenix City gave up on cultivating and went out to play. Nanji City was very big, and there were many fun places to play. For them, who had never been to this city before, it was still very attractive. Luo Lai followed them out, but Hu Ruoyun didn't follow them. She stayed behind to summarize what she had seen and learned. Regarding this summary, she wrote it very thoroughly, meticulously. From the champion teams and their students, we can deduce the strengths and weaknesses of their schools, as well as the areas where they are stronger than us. From the current situation of the participating teams, we can analyze the current situation of the schools, and combine it with last year's ranking and this year's ranking. We can make up for our shortcomings by summarizing them. We can work hard for the future. Zhuo Xiaoduo, Li Chenglong, Long Yusheng. These kinds of genius students don't appear every year. The most important reason for this is that teacher Qin Fangyang burned his own soul to pass on his knowledge to his students. The excellent results this time were just a coincidence, a result of a moment of luck. We must be vigilant against wishful thinking. We must go around inspecting retired and disabled soldiers. Those who are qualified will be given a letter of appointment to become a lecturer in the school. We must nurture the mighty iron and blood spirit of the students. There was a lot more. Hu Ruoyun racked her brain and wrote down everything she had seen, heard, and analyzed bit by bit. We may not be able to enter the High Martial Arts Academy, but the students of the High Martial Arts Academy are all sent over by schools like ours. We work hard to ensure that the talents we send out are the best. Even if his martial prowess is slightly lacking, his character must be of the highest quality. The old principal's wish is truly insightful. We may not be able to do as well as the old principal, but we can turn our efforts into results bit by bit and gradually build perfection. The plan is as follows. She had been writing since the morning, and had been writing all day, stopping to rest when she was tired, or looking out of the window and meditating, and then going on. It wasn't until his stomach rumbled that he felt hungry. He looked up and saw that the sky had darkened. Only then did he stop. She immediately felt that there was something wrong beside her. She saw that teacher Ding Xiulan of the ancestral dragon was right beside her. She was looking at Hu Ruoyun with eyes full of admiration and respect. "Mr. Ding, when did you arrive?" Hu Ruoyun was a little shocked. "Why didn't I notice it at all? I've been here for almost a day." Ding Xiulan exclaimed in admiration, "I've been watching you write for a whole day. Teacher Hu's notes. Every word is a gem. You have great foresight and meticulous thoughts. Overflowing with talent is not enough to describe you. Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Ding." Hu Ruoyun was a little embarrassed by the compliment. "It's not a compliment at all." Ding Xiulan's eyes were burning. "Teacher Hu, only someone like you can be called a real teacher. You teach and educate people, and you're a role model. You deserve all of our respect." She pondered for a moment and said, "Teacher Hu, I wonder if you're interested in coming to Shangjing's Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts Academy. I believe that with a talent like you, if you go to Ancestral Dragon, you'll definitely be able to play a greater role and educate talents better." Hu Ruoyun laughed. "You're too kind, Mr. Ding. You want me, a person who has been crippled for many years and just started over, to go to Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts Academy to teach? Ha, how am I qualified?" "No, you're qualified. You're more qualified than anyone else. Ding Xiulan said seriously and solemnly, Teacher Hu, I'm sincerely inviting you. I'm not being hypocritical. No. Hu Ruoyun shook her head firmly and refused. A gentle smile appeared on her face. I promised the old principal that I would take good care of Phoenix City's second high school. What a pity. Ding Xiulan requested, Teacher Hu, you've already finished writing these. Can you let me make a copy and bring it back? Hu Ruoyun hesitated for a moment and said, as long as Teacher Ding doesn't mind, I'm fine with it. Ding Xiulan felt as if she had received a treasure. Thank you, Teacher Hu. Let's go. I'll treat you to a meal. How can I accept that? Of course. Okay. Ding Xiulan went to make a copy first. Then, the two of them found a quiet and secluded shop. They listened to the gentle music and chatted quietly. Both of them felt very comfortable. I wonder where Xiao Duo and the others have run off to play now. After eating for a while, Hu Ruoyun could not help but start to worry about her students when night fell. You don't have to worry about them. Ding Xiulan smiled and said, now, those children are the treasures in the eyes of the various high martial arts universities. Dozens of high martial arts teachers have followed and protected them the moment they went out today. How could anything happen to them? Hu Ruoyun pursed her lips and smiled. That's why I didn't go out. Just now, I couldn't help but nag a little when I saw that it was already late. Ding Xiulan smiled and said, Teacher Hu, I have a favor to ask of you. Hu Ruoyun smiled faintly. You want to know more about Sui Xiao Duo? Ding Xiulan nodded repeatedly. There's nothing wrong with that. Hu Ruoyun sighed softly. Xiao Duo, this child, has a hard life. What do you mean by that? Ding Xiulan was immediately interested. Ding Xiulan was a high martial arts teacher. Regardless of cultivation, strength, identity, or background, she was extraordinary. Her sharp eyes were unique. Based on her understanding of Sui Xiao Duo and her judgment and inference, even if Sui Xiaoduo's background was not as good as Lan Bingrui's, he was definitely not an ordinary person. Just based on his mastery of the three martial arts of the Kunlun Taoist sect, his mastery of rare divine weapons, and his success in cultivating the Flaming Sun divine skill, it was reasonable to say that Sui Xiao Duo was a seed disciple carefully cultivated by an ancient martial arts family. If I told you that all of his achievements were achieved in a short period of time, and that he was just a martial disciple half a year ago, how would you feel? Hu Ruoyun smiled bitterly and said sadly, this child, these years have been really hard. How is this possible? Ding Xiulan exclaimed and stood up. She couldn't help but raise her voice a little, which attracted the attention of the guests at the surrounding tables. Ding Xiulan hurriedly sat back down and quietly waited for Hu Ruoyun to continue. This is true, it's not a lie. Hu Ruoyun said sadly, why do you think Xiao Duo seems to be afraid of me? It's not fear, it's respect. I watched him walk over every day. At that time, my cultivation was destroyed, so I could only teach the martial disciple class. And Sui Xiao Duo, in my class, stayed back for 5 years. Ding Xiulan was stunned by these words. Now, Sui Xiao Duo, who appeared out of nowhere and dominated the competition, actually stayed back for 5 years in the martial disciple class. I don't know what happened to his astral souls, but it was suppressed. And he couldn't break through. In the 5 years he stayed back, he put in a lot more effort than ordinary people. In Hu Ruoyun's words, Sui Xiao Duo was like a painting that slowly unfolded in front of Ding Xiulan. He was strong, tenacious, endured humiliation, was indomitable, righteous, looked at the big picture, respected his teachers, loved to protect the weak, worked hard to the extreme, shouldered all the pressure by himself, and smiled as if he didn't care about it. In a private room separated from the two of them, the Hidden Dragon High School teacher Zhang Xiaofei pricked up his ears, carefully listening to the conversation. His face was full of lingering fear. When he said, half a year ago he was still a martial disciple, he couldn't help but hit the table. Fortunately, Ding Xiulan's side made more noise and covered it. But he still had lingering fear. Sure enough, it's easier for women to get close to each other. Luckily, I found out in time and followed her out. Today, I took the right step. I didn't expect Sui Xiaoduo to have such a hard time. He's a good seedling, a good child. With this experience, his state of mind will be much higher than his peers. No one can compare to him. Zhang Xiaofei was deep in thought, but he was even more careful and didn't make any sound. Ding Xiulan came to find Hu Ruoyun to understand the situation. It could be said that she found the right person, but it could also be said that she found the wrong person. The so-called right person meant that in this world, there was no one who could understand Zui Xiaoduo better than Hu Ruoyun. Even Zui Changlu, Wu Yuding, and Zui Xiaonian didn't know as much as Hu Ruoyun in this aspect. From Hu Ruoyun, one could understand an extremely comprehensive and complete Zui Xiaoduo. But to say that she found the wrong person, it was because what she understood from Hu Ruoyun was a Zui Xiaoduo who had no flaws at all. He was almost like a saint. For someone like Zui Xiaoduo, from Hu Ruoyun to understand him, it was completely different. The Zui Xiaoduo in Hu Ruoyun's mouth and the real Zui Xiaoduo were totally different. But all of Hu Ruoyun's words were from the bottom of her heart. Because in her eyes, Zui Xiaoduo was such a perfect child. She couldn't find any flaws in him at all. This was the truth in Hu Ruoyun's eyes. The only one in the world, the best in the world, without any flaws, was Zui Xiaoduo. He was just a little mischievous, but was that a flaw? That was a merit. Chapter 351. On the day Xiaoduo broke through to martial warrior, I cried when I got home. It's really not easy for this child. Hu Ruoyun blushed and said embarrassedly, you know, in my last year in class, Xiaoduo was already 1.8 meters tall. The other children were only 1 or 1.2 meters. That awkwardness, sigh. As a woman, Ding Xiulan was naturally a very emotional person. Hearing this, her eyes also reddened. She could empathize with her. It's really not easy, this child. Just half a year ago, I sent Xiaoduo to the martial warrior class. Xiaoduo was already at the door, but he rushed back and hugged me. He said in my ear, Teacher Hu, thank you. Hu Ruoyun's eyes were filled with tears. She choked and said, I think I'll never forget that scene for the rest of my life. I don't know if it's because of his accumulation or something else, but ever since Xiaoduo broke through to martial warrior, he suddenly began to improve by leaps and bounds. In just a week, he broke through from martial warrior to martial master. Then, he quickly advanced to the peak of martial master. Ding Xiulan opened her mouth, but she didn't ask. She wanted to ask if this was too fast, and if it was hard to strengthen his foundation, it wouldn't be good for long-term planning. However, after thinking about it, she still chose to listen. Just as he was about to lose control of his breakthrough and break through to Xiantian, his homeroom teacher, Teacher Qin Fangyang, forcefully interrupted his breakthrough. Hu Ruoyun said. Good. Well done. Ding Xiulan couldn't help but applaud. This teacher Qin did a good job. Then, Hu Ruoyun hesitated. Ding Xiulan's heart was itching. She couldn't help but ask, then how many times did Zui Xiaoduo suppress his inner yuan to break through in the martial master realm? On the other side, Zhang Xiaofei instantly raised his cultivation to the extreme. His ears almost grew out of their sockets as he concentrated. This question was too critical, too urgent. Hu Ruoyun hesitated even more and didn't answer for a long time. This kind of huge problem of the student's foundation was not something that could be casually discussed. However, the other party was a teacher from one of the top 3 martial arts universities. It was related to Sui Xiaoduo's future, and it was also related to whether or not he was valued in school, and to what extent. After a long time, Hu Ruoyan lowered her voice and said, as far as I know. At least 14 or 15 times. Pooh. Ding Xiulan spat out a mouthful of coffee. She was so shocked that her eyes widened. 10. 14 or 15 times. Teacher Hu, this 9 is the limit. Sorry. She had originally planned to suppress it 5 or 6 times in such a short period of time, and that was already her limit. They were all prepared to praise him. What a genius. In the end, it turned out to be 14 or 15 times, and that was the least. Not only did he fail to say the words he had prepared, but he also spat out coffee all over Hu Ruoyan's body. She hurriedly apologized and took out a napkin in a flurry. On the other side, Zhan Xiaofei was doing the same thing. He covered his mouth and tried his best to endure the coughing. He endured it so much that he rolled his eyes and didn't dare to make a sound. Scared me to death. Since ancient times, who could suppress the true essence agitation more than 10 times? This Sui Xiaoduo, however, did it directly to 14 or 15 times. What the fuck? This could no longer be described as a monstrous genius. It could only be described with the word fuck. This matter is true. Hu Ruoyan calmly wiped the coffee on her body and said, this point, Qin Fangyang and Li Changjiang all know. Based on the time, when he was about to break through, didn't he have to suppress it once or twice a day? Ding Xiulan still felt that it was inconceivable, so she asked. Yes. Hu Ruoyan nodded. No wonder he could carry a weight of more than 10,000 pounds and jump around as if nothing was wrong. Ding Xiulan muttered, this is really too shocking. Hu Ruoyan smiled faintly and said, this child has always been low-key. When he was in school, he always carried a weight of 70,000 pounds and entered the 50x gravity room to cultivate. Pfft. Ding Xiulan, who originally felt numb from the shock and wanted to drink coffee to calm down, spat out another mouthful of coffee. Then she coughed again, choking her eyes until they were straight. Finally, Hu Ruoyan learned her lesson and did not spit out the second mouthful of coffee. Ding Xiulan, who was still coughing, suddenly frowned. Then she floated up and shouted, who? It was Zhan Xiaofei, who was on the other side, who was shocked for the second time, choking and coughing. Ding Xiulan immediately noticed it, and he reacted quickly. He immediately felt that something was wrong, but when he was about to leave, Ding Xiulan had already pounced on him. A ray of sword light appeared, and its power was approaching. Zhan Xiaofei hurriedly stood up and waved his hands, don't fight, we're on the same side. On the same side. Seeing that it was him, Ding Xiulan did not know that she was being followed. She was embarrassed and angry at the same time, and even a little hysterical. This bastard, he saw all of this mother's loss of self-control and even eavesdropped on my exclusive information. Suddenly, a violent emotion rushed to her head, who is on the same side as you. Go and die. Despicable and shameless old bastard. The power of the sword light did not decrease, but increased instead. It rushed down violently, revealing a dense killing intent. Zhan Xiaofei saw the situation and knew that it was not good. He shouted and used all his strength to stomp a big hole in the floor. His body fell down and he laughed loudly, I won't fight with you, a good man doesn't fight with a woman. I'll have to trouble Teacher Ding to compensate. The last sentence came from thousands of meters away. He actually left in defeat. Anyway, he knew what he should and shouldn't know. This was enough. If he didn't leave, was he waiting for the tigress to flip out? Bastard! Looking at the dusty hole, the whole shop was in a mess, and there were all kinds of loud exclamations. Ding Xiulan's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. In the end, she could only walk back resentfully and say angrily, it's Zhan Xiaofei from the Hidden Dragon High School. This bastard, he's too rude. He secretly hid here to listen to our private conversation. Sigh, I'm so angry. Hu Ruoyan's eyes lit up. Is it Teacher Zhang from the Hidden Dragon High School? That's really great. This sentence was really what she thought in her heart, and she couldn't help but blurt it out. In Ding Xiulan's ears, there was no need to mention how it felt. She was too embarrassed to flare up, so she could only sulk. She was so angry that her breasts grew a cup size. Zhuo Xiaoduo and the others went out to play. Many high school teachers secretly followed them, afraid that something would happen to these precious children. Then, many people guessed where these guys would go to play. But they didn't know that the 6 of them had already discussed at the hotel entrance. Wanli Xiu said, "Why don't we go buy clothes? It's my treat. No matter what you want to buy, I'll pay for it." The other 5 shook their heads neatly, like 5 puppies shaking their heads together, not going. No one was willing to take advantage of such a ready-made bargain. Even Zhuo Xiaoduo, who valued money more than life, was no exception. They knew that if there were only 5 boys shopping together, it would only take a snap of the fingers to spend money. But if there was another girl, it would be hard to say if there was enough time in the day. Not only would it consume money, but it would also consume their feet, shoes, and spirit. Li Chenglong suggested, "Let's go bungee jumping. I heard that Nanji City's bungee jumping facilities are very famous. Everyone who comes here for the first time will try it." The 5 of them shook their heads together. "Do you still think you're an ordinary person? Everyone can jump more than 100 meters with a casual jump. What bungee jumping?" Zhuo Xiaoduo said, "I bungee jump hundreds of times a day. I'm already tired of it." Yu Moyan suggested, "Why don't we go play with guns?" The 5 of them shook their heads. They were all experts in cultivation, so they weren't interested in this kind of thing. In the end, it was Zhuo Xiaoduo who suggested, "Let's go to the amusement park." Amusement park? Everyone shook their heads in secret. This was even more unreliable. Only children would play there, right? How old are you? Why do you still want to go to the amusement park? Unexpectedly, when the other 5 heard this suggestion, they were unusually happy. They unanimously agreed and led the way in high spirits. The martial arts teachers looked at this scene with blank eyes. They felt that their worldview had been shattered, and they couldn't understand it. However, they could only secretly follow the few of them to the amusement park. They saw a few tall and burly fellows riding the merry-go-round. They swayed up and down on the merry-go-round, laughing uncontrollably and making all kinds of strange sounds on purpose, causing people to cry out in surprise. After playing for a long time, they reluctantly went to line up for the pirate ship. Then, they went to ride the roller coaster. They made a big fuss all the way to the finish line. After that, 6 of them lined up, holding small bamboo poles, and went to the man-made pond to fish. They fished for half an hour without moving, but they still didn't catch a single fish. All the rides in the amusement park were happily played by these fellows, but they still didn't have enough. Li Chenglong, who had the most fun, suggested, "Why don't we come back tomorrow and play for another day?" He immediately received unanimous agreement. Many of the martial arts teachers fell silent. After a long time, they sighed. They almost didn't have a childhood, right? One of the teachers was silent for a long time, and suddenly said, "That's probably it." After sighing together, they all felt an inexplicable sadness in their hearts. Perhaps ordinary people and children who didn't have the aptitude for cultivation would be tired of these rides and wouldn't want to play anymore. However, Zhuo Xiaoduo and the others had never played them before. This was the trajectory of a martial artist's life. It was the same from childhood to adulthood. Then, the 6 of them started a rock-paper-scissors game. Whoever lost would have to treat them to a meal. In the end, Zhuo Xiaoduo lost, and this fellow began to act shamelessly. He was captured by the 5 of them and escorted to a restaurant while laughing and chatting happily. They are really close. They didn't come together because of this tournament. One of the teachers was envious. Yeah, how could Sua Xiaoduo lack this little money? Acting shamelessly is just a joke, another teacher said. That's right. Sua Xiaoduo doesn't look like a stingy person. The 6 of them ate until their bellies were round. After they came out of the restaurant, they sat quietly at the Spirit Spring Square and enjoyed the night view. They looked at the old men, old women, middle-aged people who were dancing in the square, and children who were giggling as they ran around in the crowd. They looked at the colorful neon lights around them. They looked at it quietly. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.